Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, May 16th Board of School Directors Business Meeting. I will now turn the meeting over to Mr. Copeland.
Good evening, everyone. Before we get into some of the more displays and presentations, I just want to make some announcements. First, we really want to thank ISC. They received 52 grant applications for the 2016-17 school year, requesting some $34,788. The funding came from each of the 10 schools, the Committee for Special Education, and funds from 3 grants that did not go forward from the prior school year. A total of 32 grants received funding. The breakdown is as follows. Elementary received 17 applications submitted, 10 grants funded, middle school 19 applications submitted, 12 grants funded, high school 16 applications submitted, and 10 grants funded. The total grant funding for the 2016-17 school year was $13,398, with awards ranging from $75 all the way up to $1,000. There's a lot of people in here. This, of course, is a very special evening. This is the evening that we will celebrate those employees who were with the district for 25 years, the 25-year club honorees. Tonight, we come together to honor a group of employees where professional excellence, spirited loyalty, and an unyielding dedication to the interests of children are characteristics that define them as Lower Merion School District staff. We honor those who have shared this commitment to our schools, students, and community for 25 years and celebrate their outstanding contributions to public education in Lower Merion. The newest members of our 25-year club who are here tonight are Karen Anderson, Jane Baer, Shannon Bassett, Ellen Cohen, James Esslinger, Roseanne Fulmer, Catherine Gallagher, Marion Gillespie, Carol Lord, Adrian McDonald, Beth McGowan, Christina Poplowski, Teresa Quinlan, and Wally Yanuzzi. I also want to take a moment to recognize the honorees who are unable to attend this evening's meeting. That would be Karen Allen, John Beswick, Nancy Falcone, Victor Fideli, Deborah Martin, Allison Moyer, Michael Perrone, Bogus Stone, Elaine Wisser. Joining us tonight are several colleagues of these individuals who will share some remarks and personal introductions. We also have a small token of appreciation for honored guests when they visit the podium. So, if Dr. Van Lynch would join me at the podium. First presenter, Mr. Sean Hughes.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and happy Monday to all of you. Thank you for such a large crowd to come out and hear me tonight. Just kidding. So I have the honor tonight to introduce and recognize my colleague, Lower Merion High School World Language teacher, Marion Gillespie. Marion began her teaching career in 1988 at Unionville High School as a German teacher. The following year, she started at Lower Merion, where she taught German and ESL for 2 years. Later, she was split between Harriton and LM, where she taught German through the interactive TV with LM and Harriton students. It must have been kind of the first type of Skype back then. It was also back then that she took a group of students to Germany. She ran exchange programs from Lower Merion to Costa Rica, and then she began her long career as a Spanish teacher, and she's remained in that position ever since. Marion has been such a huge part of our world language program. She's brought the dedication and enjoyment of learning to so many of our students throughout these years, and she's been a true mentor to all of these students. I've had the pleasure of working with her while I was a teacher, the AD, assistant principal, and now principal. She's one of the most caring people I've ever worked with. Marion, you're a true asset to our school. As a teacher, you've taught so many students to do their best, to be passionate about learning a new language, and to enjoy every moment of the learning process. I mean, what more could any student ask from their teacher? Marion, also during this time, with her and her husband, have raised 5 young ladies, and some we here. So we thank her. We really appreciate all of her service and commitment, and we thank you. So Marion, thank you on behalf of the students and faculty in this community. now ask Ms. Schaefer to come up, please.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. I'm here having the pleasure of introducing Kathy Gallagher in recognition of her 25 years. Way in the back, hello. I was told I was only allowed to speak for like 1 or 2 paragraphs, but I did not have a page limit, so I have like a 25-page paragraph that I'd like to start with. Everyone take your seats. Sorry, you understand. But I actually did want to begin with a little message from a former colleague of Kathy's, Dr. Kelly, who's now superintendent at Radnor, because he also had the pleasure working with Kathy for a longer period of time, 14 years. I thought that it was important to hear his voice in the message tonight, so I'm just going to read a few sentences of his words. I had the distinct pleasure of working for the Lower Merion School District for 14 years, and during most of that time I had the privilege of being Kathy's administrative assistant. Kathy was the consummate boss, and although she could be quite firm and unrelenting in her demands, she was always fair and treated me as her equal. Mostly though, she is a great teacher and for me and many others, a great life coach. Whenever I'm asked to provide, who provided me with the impactful guidance and mentoring during my professional career, there is no one I put higher on the list than Kathy Gallagher. So to follow that and echo some of those words, Kathy and I have worked together for the past 3 years, and no doubt her favorite, working in the district. But really I'd want to just share that Kathy is the real deal. I mean, as far as a person who is authentically positive every day, is reassuring, works until the job is done, and then more. She cares deeply about her work and getting it done right. At the same time, never forgetting that there are real people on the other side of every decision and being mindful of that impact. She builds and has built relationships across the district, and many people trust and confide in her as a true colleague and friend. She's flexible and funny and matter of fact, and always has practical advice for us. In an office that deals in policy and procedures, she's really adept at demystifying the process and being available and saying, look, this is really what you need to know, and helping us all out along the way. Bottom line, she can manage it all. From administrators to teachers to parents and students, she's always there to support and share her knowledge and experience. She routinely interacts, I should say, with every department in the district. Everyone here at the tables in front has had opportunity every day to interact with Kathy, probably some multiple times during the day. So I know on their behalf, I would thank you for always being there for us. I know Kathy is also blessed with an amazing family who loves her deeply, but probably not half as much as she loves and thinks about them daily. 25 years is a long time to share someone as great as Kathy, so thank you too. And thank you, Kathy, for being part of the district for 25 years. Who's next? Terry Quinlan is next to present.
Good evening. I'm here to talk about my colleague, Karen Anderson, this evening. Where are you, Karen? Okay. Karen and I started in the district at the same time. We were confident, experienced nurses from the healthcare sector, only to find ourselves like fish out of water in the school setting. As school health newbies and afraid of our more senior nurses, we bonded. Our former jobs in the healthcare sector did not prepare us for hermit crabs attached to children's lips, nor could they prepare us for a plane crash over a school during recess or the deaths of young children we cared for. We have experienced these events together. Karen is a colleague, but she's also been my friend since day one. When Karen first started, her assignment was Gladwin Elementary School, Welsh Valley, and a couple of non-publics thrown in. By now, she's worked in all 10 public and 20 non-public schools. She's willing to go wherever there's a need. In addition to her current non-public school assignment, Karen is a member of the school age transition team. She does the daily schedules for our nurses, which means taking early morning and late night phone calls. She's on the district health and safety committee and chairs the fitness committee of the Wellness Council. She organizes the district-wide immunization events, collects data to prepare state reports, organizes employee and family fitness events, and is a general go-to person for our nurses and many of our families. Karen has an exceptional work ethic. She has the same amount of energy and enthusiasm as when we first started 26 years ago. She's never sought out a leadership position, but that's not because she's not a leader. She is held in high esteem by all who know her. Karen, like most of our nurses, is an advocate for children, especially for those who struggle. I've known Karen to anonymously drop off food baskets to our families in need and buy clothing for our children. None of this is any big deal to her, but it is a big deal to the recipients of her kindness. Thank you, Karen, for all you have done for the children of Lower Merion School District and for doing it with style and a wicked sense of humor.
Good evening. I actually have the pleasure of honoring Terry Quinlan this evening. Terry has served in a variety of roles within the district, beginning as a certified school nurse for 18 years and a coordinator of health services for 3 years before moving into an administrative role as the supervisor of health services. Terry now serves as one of the lead supervisors for the Student Services Department. To say that Terry is an integral part of our team does not really adequately describe the role that she plays. She is a strong leader who sees clearly what needs to be done and follows through to the very end. I am always certain that whatever task she undertakes, it'll be done with the utmost care and professionalism with the best interests of our students and families at heart. This year, Terry was honored as the 2016 Pennsylvania Southeast Region School Nurse Administrator of the Year. Terry was nominated by her district colleagues for this prestigious award and was chosen to be the Pennsylvania representative to the National Association of School Nurses. True to who she is, Terry did not want a lot of fanfare or recognition for this award. With Terry, it's never about the recognition. She does everything because she cares so deeply about this community. When I first started working more closely with Terry this year, I was in awe of how skillfully she led her department. It's not easy to get others to follow, and I see constant examples of how much her team of nurses respects her and really will do anything for her and for the department. She has proven time and time again that she is truly an influential leader who empowers others and leads change. It is truly my honor and privilege to work alongside Terry every day, and I wish her my most heartfelt congratulations on this honor. I also have the honor this evening of recognizing Shannon Bassett. And when I think about Shannon, One thing that I think about and how much I appreciate about our community is it really is that. We really are a community. And we can see that in the number of district employees who choose to not just work in Lower Merion, but also call Lower Merion home. Shannon's a great example of this. She grew up in Lower Merion, she graduated from Heritage, and she's been with us for the past 25 years. We are thankful to Shannon for the dedication she has shown to our students with disabilities and their families over these past 25 years. She has served the community through her work within the special education department since she started her tenure here. She has skillfully supported families through the transition from early intervention to school-age services for the past 18 years and assisted with the coordination of extended school year programming for the past 15 years. Her knowledge of the district and our community has been a significant benefit to our team. When we made shifts with the reorganization of the Student Services Department this past year, we seized the opportunity to take fuller advantage of her expertise and her knowledge base. She is now supporting our building teams more closely in her work from kindergarten to third grades. Shannon graciously embraced this new challenge, and I have heard such positive feedback here everywhere I go with the buildings, from our staff, from our administrators, just what a welcome support Shannon has been. She is sincerely a valued member of the team who is deeply appreciated by all. We are fortunate to have her as part of our team, and I wish her my sincere congratulations.
Thank you. It's my honor to recognize Dr. Ro Fulmer for 25 years of service for Lower Merion. My first years at Kinwood, this is my fourth year now, she was most certainly not only a voice of reason, a voice of leadership, but also a voice of family. If you know anything about Ro and how she handles her classroom, family means everything. Family is community. She thinks the world of her sons, and you hear about it every day in a fantastic way. She's most certainly a professional, not only a lifelong learner. She's earned her master's and reading certification from St. Joe and her doctorate of education and principalship from Immaculata. She also continues to mold the minds of our educators and aspiring educators as an adjunct professor at Rosemont College. If you go into her classroom, Ro continuously dedicates herself to bringing out the best in all her students, helping them find their voice, and treating each of them, as I said before, as a part of her own family. Ro also has an exceptional quality of seeing objectives through that parent lens. You know, what would parents think and what would we do? Her own family is quite an amazing team. Ro and Bill have 5 wonderful sons who, with strength, determination, and of course, their support, have earned 4 Eagle Scouts and 1 currently at life rank. And I'm sure that 5th Eagle Scout is on its way. As we always say in education, the apple does not fall far from the tree. And in this case, that truly is the case. Ro, thank you so much for all your dedication to not only Kinwood and Kinwood's family, but the Lower Merion School District. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Scott Weinstein for the next honoree.
Good evening. I have the pleasure of introducing Jane Baer. When I arrived at Gladwin this summer as the interim principal, Jane was one of the first teachers that I met on a hot summer day when others were on vacation, by the pool, etc. When I showed up the next day, there was Jane again, and the next day, and the next day. She quickly became a valued source of information and, more importantly, made me feel at home and really comfortable at Gladwin. Turns out that feedback is a theme with Jane. I reached out to 3 of Jane's longtime colleagues on our first grade team and our counselor, all that are here tonight. Thank you for coming out to support Jane. As well as Jane's family is here with her, that I've heard about all year, and it's been a pleasure to meet them in person. I found that theme consistent with who Jane is as a professional. What they shared would take too long to present, but let me capture the essence and themes from their feedback they shared with me. Much like my story of Jane always being there in a literal sense, Jane is also there in a figurative sense, in both good times and bad times, and a mentor to so many. The themes that emerged were Jane is selfless, a master of her craft, and always gives it her all. Jane has the energy, urgency, and conscientiousness of a first-year teacher. She has the wisdom of a teacher being recognized for 25 years of service in the Lower Merion School District. She has the heart and spirit of a person that loves children and was truly meant to be a teacher. Mrs. Bear from 1B, it is my pleasure to honor your service tonight. I don't know of many people with your humility that would be less comfortable in hearing these words about them, and I don't know many people that would be more deserving. Thank you.
It's hard to go so far into the program because I'm a crier, and I feel all so emotional and honored to be here with all of you today. Okay. Hi, Ellen. It is my honor to recognize the contributions that Ellen Cohen has made to the Lower Merion School District over the past 25 years. She began her career as a first grade teacher and for 6 years taught at Merion and Kinwood Elementary Schools. And as many of you know, it takes a very special person to be a first grade teacher. The transition from a half-day to full-time program or to a new school is a major milestone in the lives of parents and children, and it's an awesome responsibility to take children with very different experiences to create a classroom community. And Ellen did that gracefully from the very beginning. Children had a very strong sense of community, and she set very high expectations for them as well. She not only partnered with families, but also served as the person who let children know that they had incredible potential and guided them as they reached that potential. Using these skills and talents as a foundation, Ellen transitioned to the role of a learning support teacher 19 years ago, and for the last 17 years has been the learning support teacher at Belmont Hills, working with our kindergarten, first, second, and now third grade students. For those of you that are parents and you think of very young children, you think of it when they're growing up and getting ready for elementary school, you just sort of assume that that experience is going to be an easy one, that the transition will be smooth and they will be readers and writers and mathematicians. And while that works really well for many, there are some students for whose school is really hard. And so I have completely admired Ellen's ability to have some of those initial conversations with parents when they realize that their transition is going to be a little bit different than they had anticipated. The compassion, the grace, and the kindness that she has shared in every one of those conversations has been something that I have truly admired. I've also admired that the fact that she's able to take students who really do struggle academically and help them redefine themselves as learners, to transform them from those who say they cannot to those who can. She has created an instructional program that balances creativity with structure, foundational skills with innovation, and provides students with a myriad of strategies that work just for them. And as a result, her students grow not only academically, but socially and emotionally. While Ellen is very talented, she recognizes that she cannot do this work alone, and she has established amazing collaborative partnerships with parents and with her colleagues. And so the women and men that work with her compliment her consistently on her flexibility, her organization, and for her ability to think out of the box so that children are getting just what they need. Her advocacy for her students ensures that they're being supported yet challenged in really meaningful and authentic ways. For parents, if you were to talk to them, they would say that Ellen consistently shares strategies and resources and materials to ensure there's a really strong partnership between home and school. They recognize that their voice and their insight are valued, and they are always appreciative of her kindness and compassion. Ellen Cohen is a true teacher. I've been so fortunate to work with her and learn from her over the past 7 years. So on behalf of our colleagues, as well as all those students and families whose lives you have touched, I want to congratulate you on this amazing accomplishment and thank you for your dedication to and love of our students. Congratulations.
Good evening. I would first like to honor Beth McGowan. Beth, if you could come forward, please. Beth is one of our top bus drivers. As a 25-year veteran, Beth has seen it all, from the packed bus garage behind Lower Merion High School to the temporary depot down by the river at Connolly to our current 3 bus depots at the high schools and on Matson Ford Road. She has driven everything painted school bus yellow. From the dirty diesels of years ago to the clean CNG buses of today. She has functioned as one of our senior substitute bus drivers for many years. She's also participated and been very successful in many school bus safety competitions at both the county and the national or state level. Beth likes working with students and she likes driving large vehicles. Thank you, Beth, for your 25 years of service. And Beth is here this evening with her family, and I congratulate you all. Our next honoree is Adrienne McDonald. Adrienne, that means you have to come up here. Okay, there we go. All right. Adrienne has been painting in the district for 25 years, when he is not traveling back and forth to his native Ireland. Most of the work he does is paint and patch job that keeps our buildings from looking like freckled Swiss cheese with the little things that come up when you have over 8,000 students. But beyond keeping things spruced up, many of his projects over the years have supported education and art projects, like setting the base coats for murals and mosaics. Additionally, he was always there to remove some of the unsanctioned artwork that occasionally shows up in restrooms. If you ask him what he thinks are the highlights of his 25-plus year career, he humbly says that this is the best job he can imagine, working with a great bunch of people that are great at what they do. The saying goes that the key to a good paint job is the preparation and the quality and detail of work. His work has produced great results for Lower Merion over 2.5 decades. Adrienne, thanks for your years of service and congratulations. So we've had a bus driver and a painter, and now for the custodians. Ed Esslinger, please. Ed. His real name is James, but we all call him Ed. Ed started in the district way back in '91. He started training at Lower Merion High School and then was transferred to Bala-Cynwyd, where he spent 6 years, then went back over to Lower Merion High School. While Lower Merion is a full-time custodian, he coached football for 3 years and worked in the weight room for 7 years. He then moved to Harriton, where he continued to have success and applied for a head custodian position at Penn Wynne. He was promoted to head custodian at Penn Wynne and worked there for 6 years, later moving to Penn Valley as the head custodian, where he has been for the last 4 years. Ed has continued to work the weight room at Harriton High School and has had that position for the last 10 years. As you can tell from his size, Ed has a passion for weightlifting and loves sharing his knowledge with the students of the district. He enjoys restoring older cars and loves vacationing anywhere there is a beach. Congratulations, Ed, on 25 successful years. Thanks. And lastly is Wally Yanuzzi. Wally Yanuzzi is, quote, a hard worker and will do anything to help you out, is how Sean Hale, the head custodian at Penn Wynne, describes Wally. He's always willing to share his knowledge to help the crew. He joined the school district back in '89 as a night custodian at Lower Merion High School, and in October of 2000, he was assigned as a utility custodian, where he traveled to all the schools doing various projects. In 2001, he found a home at Penn Wynne, where he's still working as a night custodian. His dedication and love for his job shows up even through his commute. Since moving from Brookhaven to Cochranville, he has driven over 500,000 miles just to get to and from work. Wally's an Eagles fan who enjoys football, loves spending time at his beautiful in-ground pool, and will be trying his hand at flipping houses in the near future. Wally, thank you for your contributions and congratulations. The next honoree will be introduced by Sean Bernatowicz.
Good evening. Tonight I have the distinct pleasure of speaking about Kara Lord, a first grade teacher at Penn Wynne Elementary. A quick estimate of Kara's 25 years would show that she has directly impacted easily over 500 young learners. But Kara's legacy goes well beyond her impact on the children fortunate enough to sit in 1L over the years. And I use the word impact intentionally. One of the definitions in the dictionary of impact is to have a strong effect on someone or something, and this definition certainly applies to Kara. Over the past 25 years, Kara has impacted her kids, their parents and their guardians, and her colleagues. Kara's impact on her children comes through in the manner in which she guides them towards independence. As one of her colleagues noted, Kara encourages all students to be independent learners and to think for themselves. By winter break, her students, quote unquote, know what to do and can do it independently. In the Danielson framework that we use to evaluate teachers, the distinguished descriptors frequently speak about the role of students taking ownership in their learning, and this is what Mrs. Lord strives for. One of my favorite Kara stories occurred when I visited her room on one of my daily rounds. When I entered the room, there was a buzz of quiet activity everywhere I looked. There were kids at a listening center, kids in a reading nook curled up with books. There were kids at a kidney table taking turns reading, and there was a parent volunteer at a table facilitating a writing activity. I was in the room for a few moments before it dawned on me that Mrs. Lord wasn't there. Mrs. Lord had stepped out for a moment, but her departure did not signal the halt to learning. Mrs. Lord creates a classroom environment in which her kids truly take ownership of their learning. Instilling this ability in her young students ensures that they will continue to be lifelong learners for the many years after they have left 1L. Not only does Kara instill this in her students, but she also freely shares her accumulated knowledge with her colleagues. As one colleague wrote, Kara Lord has been an integral part of my successes not only as a teacher, but also as a new member of the community. Her invaluable dedication, knowledge, and her leadership are models that I will continue to mold myself after throughout my career. I am lucky to call her a coworker and a teammate, but I am honored to call her a friend. I am eternally grateful for all that she has done and will continue to do in the many years to come. Over my years, I've always had advice given to me about having somebody have your ear. And when I came to Penn Wynne 10 years ago, Kara was one of those people that got my ear. Kara would very quietly and in a very supportive way let me know when she thought I was making a mistake. She was someone that I knew if I had an idea, I could float it out to her. And in her trademark, she could say, well, you could do that, Sean, if you wanted to, but, and then I knew where to stop. She is someone that I've relied on as we've gone through many changes over the 10 years that I've been there with her, and she is someone that I will continue to tap as I go forward. We appreciate all that you've done over the past 25 years for the children and for the Penn Wynne School community. Thank you, Kara. And Mr. Jason Potton will introduce our final honoree.
Good evening, everyone. I have the privilege of recognizing Miss Christina Poplowski, if she would come stand. Yes, thank you. If you walk into Ballackinwood Middle School, you enter a grand foyer that speaks to its history. But what you'll also notice are the decorations and a banner that streams across its columns. These speak to middle school and are compliments of Miss Christina Poplawski, better known as Chrissy, also better known as Pops. So for a number of years, Pops has decorated the halls of Ballackinwood Middle School with either her own art or that of her students. She approaches art instruction with her students in such a way that everyone is comfortable regardless of their capability to draw. She is able to get her students to try new things and go beyond what they believe they are capable of. Not only has she done this in the classroom, she does this in the gym. She's done this on the field where she has coached for several years. She dedicates her time to her students or players to ensure that she knows them and makes them feel part of a much larger community. If you walk into one of Miss Pop's Learn periods, you'll see an overwhelming number of students who just want to be there, working and enjoying their time. Everyone knows Pops, and they love her because of her approach to learning and how genuine she is with them. But her generosity is what I feel is great. It's an important part of her life, but not just the time she dedicates talking and working with students. I recently learned that during her time here at Ballackinwood, she has organized a food drive for a student who lost his mom so that he could have a Thanksgiving dinner. She's organized food and clothing drives for several years for underprivileged families. She purchased lacrosse gear for a student who couldn't afford it and encouraged her to play. And she took home and washed the clothes of a student who was homeless every week so that he would have clean clothes to wear when he came to school. I'm sure this is only a sampling of the generosity and care that Mrs. Poplawski has shown during her 25 years with the Lower Merion School District. It speaks to who she is, the values she has passed down to each of her students. And I'm certain, along with her husband, Mark, who is here, these values were passed on to her two daughters, Alex, who's not here, and Maddie, whom she speaks of regularly and I know bring her so much joy. So it is an honor to be working with you, and I offer my congratulations on an amazing 25 years. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming this evening. Though it is impossible to adequately express our thanks for all that you've done for this community, we're forever grateful for your service and your commitment to our children and our schools. Congratulations on reaching this important milestone. It reminds me that the first time I witnessed this was last year on this day when I was appointed superintendent. And I remember recalling how special an event this was, not just because of the people who were being recognized, but for the many people who came to be with you. That also speaks to the community of the Lower Merion School District. Congratulations, and again, thank you. I've got a really great budget presentation coming up. This is really, no, really, this is.
Get out while you can, get out while you can. That's awesome. Give him a couple minutes. Jason, you were great. Thank you. You're welcome. Have a nice night. Get out while you can. Steal a minute with you. Teacher, is that what you want? Yeah.
going to change the order just a bit. We were going to do our proposed final budget, but I know there are a number of folks who want to offer public comment for some things on the agenda, so we're going to move to public comment at this time. Is that okay, Mr. Roots? Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the applause. I never get applause when I'm in this seat, so thank you.
Okay,
Applause for other
but
things.
you're going to be missing a great budget presentation.
So if you're interested in speaking, if you could please, oh, you've signed in. So Ms. LaPera, if you could call the first speaker. Thank you very much.
I'm going to call the first few, and if you want to just line up on this side over here, it's Paul Costa, Reverend Douglas Hunt, Candace Chaplin, and Lonnie Levine, I think. If everybody could just state their name and the town they live in, and you get your 3 minutes.
My name is Paul Costa, and I live in Marion Station, and I'm the father of 2 kids at Kinwood Elementary. I'm also the son of a former school board member in Upper Dublin who served for many, many years, including as the president, so I appreciate what all you folks are doing. Well, if ever there was a night to feel really, really appreciative about what an amazing school district we live in, tonight was the night with the amazing teachers and the custodians, the bus driver, all the people that we saw. It was really reminds me of how fortunate I feel to live in a school district where excellence is the standard. And we're able to do really big things when we need to, things that everyone in the community can see are important, things like building new classrooms when we need them, buying new laptops or iPads if we need them, and hiring the very, very best people, including, I'll give a shout out to Miss Megan Henry from Kinwood, who's up for Pennsylvania Teacher of the Year. She's already earned it in my heart, but and I think Policy 259 is in line with doing the very best for our kids and for our school district. And as I see it, this is a way to help these kids, these gender expansive and transgender kids, GET kids, our kids, help them be themselves, just like all the other kids in school, so that when they go to the classroom or they go to the cafeteria, they are called by the name that is consistent with their gender identity and affirms who they are. Or that when they go to the bathroom, it's not a time to be scared, it's not a time to be ashamed. You just do it just like all the other kids. And this policy will give them the right to be free from harassment and discrimination that is born just out of who they are or the way they were born, just like we do for all the other kids. I think enacting this policy is going to send the right kind of message to our kids and to our community that these GET kids, we see you and you're part of our community, and we want you to be your authentic selves. We value you as your authentic selves. And we, your community, we care enough to make some small accommodations so that you can be yourself. So I support the policy. I hope you'll enact it, and including its regulations. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Reverend Douglas Hunt, and I come today, I'll speak from a little different perspective, that of a moral and ethical
Sir,
question.
where do you reside in the district? Could you
I
just-
reside in Haverford.
Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, in Lower Merion?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in the township, in this town. Haverford, which is between Ardmore and Bryn Mawr.
Okay, and I'm sorry, public comment is reserved for Lower Merion residents?
I am a Lower Merion resident.
You are a Lower Merion resident?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to start by talking about love, hope, and justice. These are the foundations of moral, ethical, and compassionate judgment. As a new great-grandfather, I'm reminded anew that all children, are precious and need our love, nurture, protection, as well as our compassionate judgment. I'm also reminded that as we watch them grow in self-awareness, knowing more every day about who they are, it is our human and our moral obligation to celebrate their discovery of themselves. Imposing our visions of ought and should on another person, however young or old, whose very being is a gift, is a denial and rejection of our moral responsibilities to love and nurture each other. This is not always easy, I know. In fact, it can be, I won't say damn, but I will say darn hard. I have children, and I know. Their growth and self-awareness can be horribly challenging, and it is in accepting, nurturing, and supporting that growth, even when it hurts or angers, that our love and spirits can grow. This proposed policy is a step in a long process that allows our institutions to respect and protect our children's being and becoming who they are. I wholeheartedly applaud the board for taking this step. I support its passage, and I am reassured by your foresight, understanding, and courage. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Candace Chaplin. I live in Gladwin. I have a young child in the Lower Merion School District. I'm a graduate of Belmont Hills Elementary School, Welsh Valley Middle School, and Harriton High School. And I really feel lucky to be talking to a school board that has already shown that its goal is to ensure a quality and a safe learning environment for all Lower Merion students. But I'm concerned about some surprising and distressing reactions from some members of our community to proposed Policy 259. So I wanted to take a quick minute to explain why, as a community member, I believe there should be no question about our providing equal protections to all of our kids. The scientific evidence that there's a biological basis for transgender identity is overwhelming, and it is not for us as individuals to question the children in our schools whose gender identity doesn't conform to their biological sex at birth. All over this country, including in our own schools, there are kids who dress differently, look different, act differently than social norms suggest are right. These kids didn't ask to be different, and they don't want to be treated differently. They just want to be kids. They want to play sports, be treated kindly and respectfully by teachers, have friends on the playground, be called by their correct name, and use the same bathroom that other kids of their preferred gender use. Sadly, many school districts operate out of fear or ignorance and create policies that prevent kids from being able to attend school safely and comfortably. Those kids can't ride the bus because they're not safe there. They don't have friends because they're ostracized by other kids or even teachers. They develop urinary tract infections because they're terrified of using the bathroom, so they hold it all day. You can read about this in any newspaper any day. Those communities are not keeping their children safe. They're not teaching their children kindness and openness and respect. Lower Merion can do better. The children of our district deserve better. This weekend, a transgender teen whose family I know killed herself. This is a fear that parents of gender nonconforming children live with every day. They have no choice. More than 50% of transgender youth will attempt suicide at least once before their 20th birthday. And the primary reasons gender nonconforming youth attempt suicide is because they are rejected by their own families and discriminated against by society. Is this what we want for our kids? I don't. I want my child to know that every child here is treated with respect by him, by his teachers, and by our community. I don't want him to believe there's only one acceptable way to be male or female. I don't want him to lose friends to suicide. We have to stand up for our gender nonconforming children and show our community that disrespect of LGBT individuals is neither valid nor acceptable in our schools. This policy will show our community, I'm finishing up, that the fear, and I feel like I'm in the Oscars, and ignorance that some people have is not a justification for discriminating against children in our district or any place else. Thank you, and apologies.
Thank you so much for listening to us. I'm Lonnie Levin. I am here actually to read a statement by a neighbor from Gladwin. I, however, want you to know that I was an English teacher at Lower Merion High School in this very building about 40 years ago. And I'm really glad to see the progress we're making. So this is from Jan Barish from Gladwin. She says, "No one chooses to be different. It's hard enough not to be able to accept the sexual identity that you are assigned with at birth. It takes great courage to step up and let the world know that you're not as you appear to be. Why make things more difficult by not allowing people who are transgendered to have some sense of acceptance? There are far worse things in this complex world, so why not give these people a break? It's easy to want to turn your back, but if transgender people have the courage to fight for what's right, we should support them. We need to step up and offer empathy, acceptance, and respect for those of us fighting the gender identification battle." Thank you.
Adriana Carter, Jill Ringgold, Jason Goodman, and Kristen Cooney.
Hi, I'm Adrienne Levin Cantor. I live in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania, and thank you for all being here and for everyone here. This is a very important meeting, and I feel honored to be able to speak here tonight. As a physician and as a mother of 4, I feel that this policy 259 is very representative of what Lower Merion should be supporting our children. I think that our children feel that school is a second home, and we really need to make all of our children feel comfortable. I think that we have to make them feel safe. I think that we have to have a policy of acceptance of all children. And I think that we, as Lower Merion School District, I'm very proud of our schools. We have had the most fabulous teachers. I mean, I think tonight, showing our generosity of our providers and our teachers and everyone, those drivers. I mean, we have to do this for our children because all children deserve to feel safe and accepted and comfortable at school, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of, you know, who they want to be. We want to support them. So we have very dear friends in the school district, and this is something that is near and dear to me and to my heart. And I feel that we have to, my children are friends with children who have, who are trans children. And, you know, for children, they accept these people without any question. I don't know why we have to make this into such a big issue. Our issue is to support these children without question, and that's the bottom line. So thank you, and I'm very much in support of this policy, and thank you for your support.
Sorry, short people problems. My name is Jill Ringgold. I'm a resident of Merion Station. I'm also a parent of a 2nd and 5th grader at Kinwood Elementary. I currently work for the Montgomery Child Advocacy Project, which is a local nonprofit that helps abused and neglected children in Montgomery County. My reason for sharing this is just to highlight and address the concerns that have surfaced about the risks of adopting a thoughtful and encompassing policy that protects the rights of transgender and GET students in our schools. I've heard countless arguments in the past few days, weeks, and months about predatory men and boys in girls' locker rooms and bathrooms, and how predators are going to use this as a loophole to hurt children. I'm here to make sure that you understand that nationally, perpetrators of child abuse or neglect are most often the child's own parents. According to the National Center of Abuse and Neglect Data System, almost 80% of perpetrators are parents. Another close to 7% are close relatives. That means almost 90% of child abuse is happening at home, in your home, not at school and not in the bathrooms. If people are so concerned about the safety of their children, then the most important thing they can do is to educate their children about their bodies, what they have and how it works, and who should be allowed to see and touch them, and when it is ever appropriate, as in when a doctor needs to see you to keep you safe or healthy. That's the education that needs to be happening. My 5th grade daughter and her friends stood up here at the last meeting and spoke to you about making sure school was a safe place for all kids. Since that time, at least 4 different school districts have expressed interest in seeing our policy and adopting something similar to their school. A school board member from a local school district said to me, "Seeing those girls speak up like that was an important reminder to me that I need to fight for that kind of language in my district. It's not going to be popular here, but if they could do that, I can too." I am proud to be a parent in the Lower Merion School District, a district that is creating policy that will be an example for others. I am proud to stand up in support of every child and every parent who does not feel safe to stand up here themselves. Every child deserves to feel safe and secure during their tender years and adolescence. In the words of my 10-year-old, every child should feel safe going to school, and Lower Merion can be that place. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jason Landau Goodman. I'm from Ballot-Kinwood, and I am very proud of our community this evening. In taking a landmark step, you will become the 3rd known school district in Pennsylvania to adopt a comprehensive transgender student policy. Lower Merion has been a longtime leader in the acceptance of transgender and gender-expansive students. Recognizing that some students still face barriers and harm, either at home, in school, or out in the world, there are partners in the township, certainly the school board, willing to talk and take action. Starting in the 1990s with the formation of Lower Merion High School GSA with Janice Pinto, and so many actions since. Just to share a personal story, this is the first time I've been to a school board meeting since I was in the 2nd grade. And at that meeting, I was part of the first pilot program of elementary school students learning a foreign language. And so we actually got a chance to perform a little skit for the school board to show that language, that was a useful program. And so I actually was able to choose and wear this fabulously pink boa as I performed as a bird in front of the school board. So now I'm wearing this hot pink Lower Merion High School GSA t-shirt in that vein. Throughout the 2000s, the Welcoming Schools Committee operated to great success, bringing together partners throughout the district regarding LGBT students. And now certainly everyone involved in this policy, thank you so much. Certainly to the GSAs active in the district at Lower Merion. We have a great group from Harriton High School here this evening with Miss Bold and students, so hi. You'll be hearing from them shortly, as well as Lower Merion High School students. But there are countless people who have been involved, so thank you for all you've been able to do. Fast forward a little bit after 2nd grade, when I was starting college, I found that you could be fired for being perceived or to be LGBT in Pennsylvania, and so I helped with others form a movement in Lower Merion supporting non-discrimination, and we got a comprehensive non-discrimination ordinance banning discrimination in employment, public accommodations, and housing in the district in 2010, and that was passed unanimously. But the question was always, what can we do with the schools? Shortly thereafter, I helped form the Pennsylvania Youth Congress, which I serve as the executive director. We are Pennsylvania's first and only statewide LGBT youth organization, and we work throughout the Commonwealth supporting transgender student policies and supports. We've been working with students in Lower Merion for about 2 years toward this moment. Tomorrow, we plan to publicly release our model policy for Pennsylvania districts, which is largely influenced on the administrative regulations proposed for Lower Merion. Conversations across Pennsylvania right now are ranging in Pine Richland, for example, which I've been to the past 5 school board meetings there. They range from separate but equal distinctions. Could I have 1 more minute just to finish up? Okay. Thank you. From parents, hundreds of them coming in and talking about how we need to go back to separate but equal, to the first known policies adopted in Great Valley and Springfield now taking action. Pittsburgh will follow Lower Merion School District next month in adopting the next policy, and we expect many to be adopted through the leadership of Lower Merion. Certainly with the federal guidance issued last week, we are now at a moment where we are truly recognizing the importance of this policy and practice. From Pennsylvania Youth Congress, we're always centering students in this work, so I urge you to consider their voices tonight as you take your vote. Finally, I just wanted to really pay homage to the incredible landmark remarks that were delivered by Attorney General Loretta Lynch last week, who said, "Let me speak directly to the transgender community itself. Some of you have now lived freely for decades. Others of you are still wondering how you can possibly live the lives you were born to lead. But no matter how isolated or scared you may feel today, the Department of Justice and the entire Obama administration wants to know that we see you. We stand with you, and we will do everything we can to protect you going forward. Please know that history is on your side. This country was founded on a promise of equal rights for all, and we have always managed to move closer to that promise, little by little, one day at a time. It may not be easy, but we'll get there together. Tonight, as a school board, you fully are going to be embodying this clarion call in adopting this policy. Thank you for your leadership in compassion, inclusion, and dignity for transgender and gender-expansive students. The action you take tonight will have an immeasurable positive impact on countless students to come, and in effect, lift up our entire community in the process. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm from Bala-Cynwyd, and I attend Harridan High School. First off, I just want to say that this policy would be so immensely amazing if it were passed, and I'm going to say when it's passed because it definitely deserves that. It means so much to us with GSA and so many people in the school district because everyone deserves to be compared equally. Everyone deserves to use the bathroom that they would like to use, and etc. Harridan has had a GSA ever since 2004. GSA was started as a safe, supportive space for LGBTQIA+ students and continues to be. Ms. Bold has been the advisor since 2009, being a huge part of the improvement of Harridan's GSA. This is a group that I wholeheartedly love so much, and I'm so proud to be in because every member is passionate, open-minded, and determined, just like our advisor, Ms. Bold. That's why I'm so thankful that I get to be one of the presidents of this GSA. Rather than calling our GSA the Gay Straight Alliance, we made the group decision to rename it the Gender Sexuality Alliance to make the group seem as inclusive as it is. And in recent years, our club has evolved into more of an activist role, starting with this year getting so many more students than we've ever had involved. Due to how hardworking our GSA is, we have had many accomplishments. Ever since the end of last year, we have been working towards getting gender-neutral bathrooms for our school. We had a meeting at the end of last year with our principal, Dr. Eveslog, that went very well due to his compassion and how accepting he is. After this meeting, we got the definitely necessary gender-neutral bathrooms. Though gender-neutral bathrooms are available in our school, they are very inaccessible because of their locations, being the nurse's office, the main office, and the athletic office. In addition to the inaccessibility, some students have reported that they have been denied usage of at least one of these gender-neutral bathrooms, which is certainly something that needs to be resolved. But as a district, I know that we'll resolve all these problems. Another win for our GSA is the fact that starting this year, 2016, the graduation gowns will not be gendered. In previous years, males would wear red gowns and females would wear white gowns. Now, to make it gender neutral, all of the graduation gowns will be red. Finally, our GSA has had the honor of receiving 2 awards from the annual Rainbow Connection Conference at Westchester University. These awards were the Advisor of the Year Award presented to our incredible advisor, Ms. Bold, and the other award we received was the Most Improved Organization of the Year Award, which obviously is true. All of these accomplishments and awards really show the outstanding work everyone does together as a group, which is probably the most important thing I find about this GSA. One more minute, sorry. Because together, honestly, they're my home away from home. They're my family. They mean so much to me. And really shows the wholehearted dedication of every individual member, making me so proud to be a member of this wonderful GSA. Thank you.
Okay, Maxwell, Bruner, Reaver, Leon Brody, Anna Callan, and Lindsay Sayer. Did I hear them? Okay, sorry. Maxwell, Bruno, Reaver, Leon Brody, Anna Callan, and Lindsay Sayer.
Hello, everybody. My name is Maxwell Bruno River. I'm from Rosemont, and I currently attend Harridan High School. I have a few words to share with you today. When I first began to explore my own gender identity in 2013, Harridan High School was a positive, supportive community of everyone, myself included. I, as a trans youth trying to figure everything out, much like my peers, was treated and regarded as equal to any other student. In 2016, it is incredible to see how far we have come as a high school and as a greater school district towards providing equal protections for all. Now, as a graduating senior, I cannot express how grateful I am to have attended such a progressive, open-minded institution. This policy is the icing on the cake for LMSD to show that we are a district to be looked up to. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Leon Brody. I live in Narberth, and I've been going to schools in LMSD since elementary school. Right now I'm at Harridan. I'm a junior. One thing for me about this policy, I'm a big fan of this policy. I think it has a lot. I really appreciate how inclusive it is, of like the amount of stuff it covers in the policy itself, like the proposed stuff we have. One of the more important things, I believe, is the teacher training aspects of it, which I know have been completely finalized. But for me personally, I feel like training teachers and just getting everyone to be educated is a really important thing for me, because as a gender expansive student, I feel like it'll be a lot easier for me to exactly like come out to my teachers. I guess I'm not like, I'm pretty out already, but just in general, I feel like since it's gonna be a set in stone thing that people will have to know about, it, like just as for right now, for me, I haven't told a lot of my teachers about my identity because I feel like a lot of them aren't going to understand, so I feel it'll be a lot more supportive for me for them to have them know like about the issues and the identities and just all the definitions and stuff already, if that's good. And I feel like that it's really important because also, just not me by myself, but I feel like for all the other students in the entire district, it'll be really helpful for them to treating their peers with more like awareness of all the issues and about different identities for people, and even like help people kind of find ways to express themselves or ways to identify, and I think that's really important. Another thing I think about the policy is really cool is the added curriculum part of the policy, because especially in health classes, a lot of my peers in GSA have shared experiences of like really negative experiences in health class regarding LGBT issues, and not covering a lot of topics related to that. So that's basically all I had to say. Thank you all for the policy and everything.
Hi, I'm Anna Callan. I live in the Penn Valley, Narberth area, and I came here in the 8th grade, and then I am now a junior at Harridan. The other night, I went to Penn Valley for my sister's talent show, and it was a very eye-opening experience for me because everyone who went on stage was given a massive applause, whether they were actually performing or just introducing an act. That night, the school and community came together to enjoy seeing friends, family, and even strangers. It was beautiful to see how something so small can bring people together, and we were all equal and supporting one another. So why don't we really do that every day at our school? We shouldn't forget that voices remain unheard and unwelcome. Welcoming all students is important for everyone to feel equal. Why can't we cheer each other on rather than bring each other down? I think this policy is very important because everyone should be welcome regardless of their gender identity. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Sayer. So, considering I'm a freshman at Harriton High School, my future years at LMSD will be directly impacted by today's meeting and the policy 259, that one. It will also affect the future of my classmates and upcoming years of students. It's so reassuring to know that I am in a safe and accepting school. In comparison to a lot of schools in Pennsylvania, we have made a lot of progress in securing the rights of our LGBTQ+ students. Having this policy is such a big help in including all the trans youth in our district. I believe this policy was very well written and thought out. However, there are some things in the current policy that need slight adjusting. Okay. Such as enforcing some specific topics. One of them includes something a teacher told me earlier in the year. I was told teachers are advised to not separate students into two binary genders, but I've also heard many teachers still use them during these teachings. For example, splitting the class between boys and girls for a classroom activity. The simple solution is to eliminate gender segregation in all classes, to make sure the environment is more tolerant and aware that there are not only two sides of the story. I think this policy is needed because it includes so many things our current policy is lacking. Oftentimes in class, unnecessary gendering takes place, and in those cases, I feel like teachers are unaware of how this segregating of genders can impact the students' lives. It tells students that they should be forced into one binary or another, and eliminating any other options for a student to express themselves. I'm so happy to be enrolled at a time where all of these things will be implemented in our school, and as I'm still in it. Overall, I feel like the GET policy was well thought out, and with only minor changes and additions that the rest of my fellow GSA members have already spoken about today. It's so welcoming to know I have a trustworthy community to help make change to our school communities. And even though I have my bio keystones tomorrow, I made sure to come and help represent my wonderful GSA and the LGBT community in Lower Merion School District. Thank you.
Annette Kasdan, it's Viner Barbara, Michelle Patlaw, and Nancy, B-E-N Benowitz, is that it? I can't really read that. Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Annette Kasdan. As a resident of this community, I am so pleased to see and hear the compassion that is now being shown towards all children in the Lower Merion School District. So I support the Lower Merion School District's new policy, which, among other things, allows all children to utilize the locker rooms and restrooms of the gender to which they personally identify.
Hello, my name is Barbara Viner. You said it correctly. And I am a 46-year resident of Penn Wynne. I'm also a 34-year school counselor, retired. And I would like to thank Lower Merion for their proposed policy for gender equity. It's so important as a school counselor in elementary school. I did see several children come to me with their parents. There were many that did not, and many years later, I heard about them. Unfortunately, many of them did not have very happy experiences going through school. And I really support Lower Merion. I'm very proud of this district. You guys are great. I'm just so proud of you. And it was an extra bonus to be here tonight to see the teachers of 25 years. That's such a nice thing to do for teachers. What a nice recognition. Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Dr. Michelle Partlow. I'm a resident of Lower Merion, a former school principal, and I have a slight connection to the board and the superintendent. I recently retired from Temple University, and my replacement is Dr. Chris McGinley. I just want to share a few facts with you that are important in the passage of Policy 259. 1 in every 10 people is LGBT. People are still taking their lives, not because they are LGBT, but because of the way they are treated. Nearly half of our young transgender people have seriously thought about taking their lives. Today, more Americans than ever know someone who is transgender. The Human Rights Campaign study shows that 22% of Americans know or work with a transgender person. And of course, we've all heard of Caitlyn Jenner. The research on transgender people, there's a paucity of it as of now, but the recent studies are pointing strongly to a biological or genetic basis. People who are fearful of transgender youth using the bathrooms should know that transgender youth and people are not sexual predators. Leon Lott, sheriff of Richland County in South Carolina, said, "In the 41 years I have been in law enforcement in South Carolina, I have never heard of a transgender person attacking or otherwise bothering someone in a restroom." So I just want to share a recent true story, and that is I was accompanying an 8-year-old transgender boy to the restroom in a public facility. I saw the great anxiety he experienced when he had to use the bathroom. He was afraid to go into the men's room without an adult escort. I went into the men's room with him. Every child in a school is entitled to the safety that we all require when visiting bathrooms. I applaud you and Policy 259, which offers all children in Lower Merion schools safety, equality, dignity, and respect. Thank you.
Lauren Fenning, Karen Rudy, Toby Perkins, Carly Feld.
Hi, I'm Karen Karmatz-Rudy. I live in Marion Station. My mother graduated from this high school. I graduated from this high school. My 2 daughters will graduate from this high school, assuming they pass their keystones. We're not going to talk about that one tonight. But we live in Lower Merion because we value education above all, or that's the main reason why we live here. Education means teaching our children to read, to write, to compute, to think, to be smart, articulate contributors to society. But it also means helping guide our children to treat all humans as equals, deserving of our respect. Policy 259 is a wonderful step in the direction of helping teach our children to be thoughtful, compassionate, intelligent members of a community that prizes individuals for who they are. I'm proud that this board has moved to create this fair and compassionate policy, and I'm wholeheartedly in favor of your voting it into being. Thank you.
Toby Perkins.
Okay, hi, my name is Toby Perkins. I'm a graduating senior at Lower Merion High School. The first thing I just quickly want to say is a shout out to Mrs. Chrisman, Dr. Stanley, and Mr. Hughes for giving all of the members of the AGSA at our school the confidence to speak about these things and feeling like we're heard. I would not feel comfortable speaking tonight without them, and everything they've done for us means so much. So in preparation to speak tonight, I reached out to some of my trans friends, briefly summarizing the policy and asking them, if you are out of high school, how would your experience have been different if you had this policy? If you are still in high school, how would it change if it was implemented now? I wanted to start with a very profound answer that I received from my friend Milo, who identifies as non-binary and had a very hard time in high school. They said, if there was a policy ensuring that trans people and their pronouns were respected, it would have provided me with the safe space I needed to come out, if only to myself as trans. It would have boosted my confidence so much. It would have acted, at the very least, as a reassurance to me that the things I was feeling weren't wrong or bad, that I wasn't a bad person, which was something I desperately needed to hear at that point in my life. During that time, my grades dropped so low it was questionable whether or not I was going to graduate as a result of my mental health being so poor. Essentially, I would have been a different person, leading a different life, a much better one, if I had felt safe and respected in my classes, and if I had been able to use bathrooms and locker rooms I felt safe using. Milo's school could have done so much better for them to give them the education they deserved, and we can do so much better for our students too. If we ignore situations where they might be in danger without a policy that allows them to, say, use a certain bathroom or share a room with people of whichever gender on an overnight trip, we are being complacent. If we do not create a policy that forces people within a school to call a person by the name and pronouns that they identify with, we are being complacent. If we do not create an environment which lifts up and validates transgender students, we are being complacent. And when you are complacent, you choose the side of the oppressor. It is the job of the officials within this school district to favor the health and happiness of all of its students in order to facilitate the best possible learning experience. That means we have to make sure that trans students are respected. That means we have to know what to do in every situation in order to make sure they're protected. Every single student that attends Lower Merion School District should be confident that when they step into school every day, they are recognized as a human being. They're equal to every other student, and they are inarguably respected, no matter their gender identity. Right now, I don't think we have that environment. Today, we have a wonderful and exciting opportunity to get active in creating it. We have an opportunity to show trans students within the district they are noticed, they are important, and that we will do our best to ensure they are comfortable and safe. And that is invaluable to anyone struggling with their identity. I don't want any of my peers at Lower Merion to say, if X had been different, I would have had a different life, a better one. I want them to say we did our utmost to make it a better one.
Hi, my name is, Jesus, that's really loud. My name is Carly Feld. I'm from Bala-Cynwyd, and I'm a freshman at Lower Merion High School. I have kind of just started in this club. I'm one of 2 freshmen at Lower Merion, but I feel very strongly about it. My dad works at an independent school, and my sister and I recently helped him go through the same process of creating a new policy for transgender students, very similar to what we're trying to pass tonight. I feel very strongly to pass this policy. One of my really close friends, Jordan, identifies as male. He currently cannot use the male bathrooms, so he does not go to the bathroom at school. And that's really hard to see. He'll wait outside the bathroom while we all go to the bathroom, and it's hard to see him not be able to use the bathroom that he wants to. Teachers don't respect his pronouns, not only because they don't know to, but also just because it's not really required yet. So they still call him Maya, and they still call him a girl. They still use she, her pronouns. It makes it uncomfortable for me knowing that my friend isn't comfortable in the classroom. And I know it's uncomfortable for other students. I have 2 other friends who have graduated from Lower Merion who felt the exact same way. They were uncomfortable. They didn't feel comfortable going to the bathroom. They didn't feel comfortable talking in class because they would be called on by their birth name. And I think that that's awful. And I don't think that's how Lower Merion or any school district should be, for that matter. Thank you.
Jenny Simonson, Karen Anderson, Eileen Wasserman, and Karen, I think it's Cherwany. Okay.
Hello all, good evening. Excuse me?
Yeah. My name is Jenny Simonson. I'm from Linwood. I went to Marion Elementary, Valley Kinwood Middle School, and I graduated from Lower Marion in 2015. Currently, I serve as a social justice and equity representative at Smith College, where I attend and just finished my first year. And due to this position, I was asked to speak in front of 56 graders on what it means to be transgender, gender expansive, and gender nonconforming, as well as how to be an ally to others. After the event, a couple of students wrote to me with additional questions. Some wrote, why do you have an eyebrow piercing? And funny questions like that. Some wrote other things, but one specifically stuck out to me, a question, I think I am transgender, should I tell my school? As faculty and administration orchestrated the event at which I attended, I had no issue with advising the student to talk to a teacher so that he and his parents could get the resources and support that he needed. If the student were here, however, I may have advised him to act differently, as Lower Marion School District currently does not have any proper resources available for a trans student to feel supported and subsequently flourish. Our motto here is to enter to learn, go forth to serve. In my 12 years as a student in this district, I was continuously taught to respect others for who they are. I graduated from Lower Marion with the intention of using my privilege to serve others whose voices have currently been disparaged by institutions such as state and federal governments, as well as the public education system. Learning about transgender individuals and what they need in order to succeed, feel respected and safe in a community was not something I was taught during my time here, but is no less important than learning how to make how to make any other group of individuals feel safe and supported and respected. This is why I went to Lower Marion High School administration during my junior year in pursuit of creating gender-neutral bathrooms for the school. These were taken down upon my graduation, but the sentiment was still there. The sentiment among students that change was necessary in order to make all students feel comfortable enough to learn at Lower Marion was not diminished at all. Making sure that trans students feel respected enough to learn and grow in the school is not an extraneous matter, it is one of basic human decency. Through Policy 259, trans students will be able to grow and learn, and as our motto states, be citizens that admirably serve others upon graduation. In order to do so, however, trans students must finally feel as much as a part of the Lower Marion School District community as any other student in this district. Respect and support cannot be exclusionary. Thank you for your time and understanding.
Hi, my name is Karen Anderson. I've lived in Lower Marion for 30 years. I'm the mother of 4 children, 3 have graduated from Lower Marion, and my youngest daughter is a sophomore at Lower Marion. Not only am I a parent, but I'm a healthcare professional with 40 years of experience. This is my 26th year as a certified school nurse in Lower Marion School District, and more importantly, I'm a human being who believes in the rights and emotional and physical well-being of all individuals. I decided to become a member of the Lower Marion School District Gender Expansive and Transgender Policy Committee this year, not only because of what I believe, but because I've seen firsthand how supporting all students literally can save lives. Current statistics speak volumes. 41% of GET individuals attempt suicide in their lifetime, compared to 4.6% of individuals in the general population. A new study by Seelman published in February of this year found that 41% of attempted suicides by GET students jumps to a staggering 60.5% for GET students who have been denied the use of bathrooms that are in line with their gender identities. As some of you may know, last Friday the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division sent a letter to every school district in the United States reiterating that public schools may not discriminate against students based upon their gender identity as supported under Title IX. The letter reads, a school's Title IX obligation to ensure non-discrimination on the basis of sex requires schools to provide transgender students equal access to educational programs and activities, even in circumstances in which other students, parents, or community members raise objections or concerns. As is consistently recognized in civil rights cases, the desire to accommodate others' discomfort cannot justify a policy that singles out and disadvantages a particular class of students. As a nurse, I am committed to prevention as much as intervention. We as a school community can help to prevent the isolation, verbal and physical abuse experienced in the past by students who identify as GET. Please help our K through 12 grades GET students live in a supportive learning environment by voting in favor of this policy. Thank you.
We're going to join forces and save a little bit of time, hopefully.
We're not going to ask for 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Hello, my name is Eileen Wasserman, and I've been a resident of Lower Merion Township for 32 years. I have 2 children who graduated Lower Merion High School, my daughter 28 and my son 26. And I have most of my career has been committed to creating work and communities that are inclusive, with a little different nuance on the term inclusive than we have in the education sphere, in the business sphere. But it's really about creating safe, trusting places where people can bring their fullest. And I'm here with my colleague, and I'm also here because I'm the chair of the Lower Merion Human Relations Commission, which I thank Jason for his tremendous work in helping to create the ordinance that influenced the ordinance that created the Lower Merion Human Relations Commission. We'll say a word about that in just a minute, but I want to allow my colleague Karen to introduce herself.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I guess I'm an immigrant from Radnor Township. I've only been in Lower Merion since my children have been out of school. They attended Radnor High School. We did live in Lower Merion, though, earlier in our lives, too, before our children were school age. I wish they had gone to school in Lower Merion, and I hope my grandson, who now lives in Radnor, will come into Lower Merion at some point in his education, because Radnor is a very good school district, but I don't believe they have a Human Relations Commission or a policy such as this one. The only thing that I can add to the dialogue that's been here tonight, which has been so impressive, is that it reminds me of 30 years ago when we first passed the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we required that schools and other public accommodations accommodate people with disabilities. It was expensive and it was difficult, and we did it. And not only did it help people with disabilities, it helped all of us. As a young mother, I loved those curb cuts as I was strolling my children down the street. And so with this policy, I think the only thing that I have additionally to add is that when we have a township like Lower Merion that values everybody and protects everybody from discrimination and harassment, no matter what their differences might be, we are a model for others. And we are educating others. So what you're doing here tonight goes way beyond this school and all of our schools. It goes right into the community, and it educates everybody else who may know very little about GET and transgender individuals. But your policy is well written, and the definitions are strong and easy for us to understand. And so I hope that what you do tonight gets the publicity it deserves, so that all in the community can applaud you.
And I just want to add that tonight I came here to speak on behalf of supporting the policy. And I had like many people, I was able to hear you honoring the people that have worked for the district for 25 years. And I felt very, very proud that I have lived in this community for more than half my life. And then, to build on that, to hear the testimony of the range of people in this community, some experts, some from passion, speaking on behalf of the rights. I just want to voice my support in my role and as a member of this community, in total agreement of what Karen just said, that when we create safety and trust and inclusion in this community, we are proud and we are models. Thank you very much.
I have Toby, and the last name begins with a G, and I can't understand the rest of the writing. And then I have Myra Wolpert and Cheryl Masterman.
It's Toby Gang.
Thank you.
That's okay.
and I'm a 25-year resident of Lower Merion, and I've loved it, and I'm very proud to live here. And I read the policy in preparation for coming here, and I'm very impressed with how all-encompassing it is. I'm here to support it. I believe it's the moral imperative of our community to protect and support all of our children. Thank you.
I'm Myra Wolpert. I'm a longtime resident of Lower Merion. My children and grandchildren graduated from Lower Merion High School, and I'm a former teacher in Lower Merion. Many years ago, we made a huge mistake by discriminating against our black children. When I read your policy tonight, Policy 259, I was so happy to know that we are not repeating that mistake by discriminating against our transgender children.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Masterman. I live in Villanova. I have 3 children in elementary, middle school, and high school. And what that actually means is I drive around in the car a lot. While I'm in the car, this last week, I've been profoundly sad with the news that I've been hearing in our southern states' responses to President Obama's letter. And what it has meant to me is the fact that we have become unknowingly proactive in something that I think is going to be a big deal for a while. But I know this has been in the works for a long time, so we are ahead of the curve. And I appreciate that very much. I think education is really the only way to deal with ignorance, and in this case, ignorance is not bliss. So thank you very much, and please vote yes.
That's it. Oh, they didn't sign in. She did sign in. Oh, did I miss her? Oh, I called her earlier. I'm sorry. She didn't come up. I'm sorry, Lauren. Lauren Fenning.
My issue is about Penwyn Elementary School in the field, so I wanted to go later, and I support gender equity.
So just to close out that part of public comment, I want to thank the administration and all the folks that have worked so tirelessly on this policy, as well as the policy committee and the administration who's come together for a number of hours to really work through the language and giving us a comprehensive development. So it's nice to hear this level of support. And thank you to the community members who came out to speak, and especially our students. It takes a lot of courage to get up at that podium and takes a lot of courage to get up at that podium and speak your truth. And so we appreciate that, not only on your own behalf, but also on the behalf of the students that are in the district, but also on any student that is in any district. So with that, I would like to move us to a budget presentation. All right, so Mr. Copeland and Mr. Orlando. So if you want to stay, you are more than welcome, but I certainly understand if you do not.
You can. You had public comment on it. You can do it.
So I'd like to make a motion that we move that policy vote up on the agenda so the people that have come and spoken can actually see the vote. And then I'd like to spill my soda for drama.
And I'll second the motion and try not to spill mine.
Well, okay, just so we're clear, it was actually a request to move it up on the agenda. You don't need a motion to move it up on the agenda.
Okay.
So what you really need is a motion to adopt policy 259.
Okay.
I would very much like to provide the motion to adopt policy 259. The policy committee has been working on this, but this was really led by a group of the committee who faculty and administrators and students have all been contributing to this policy. And so, I think we are very fortunate to have had their guidance on this. And so with that, I will motion.
I second the motion.
Okay. So the policy 259, gender expansive and transgender students, ensuring equity and non-discrimination, has been reviewed for a second reading. Are there any questions? Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion, please respond by saying aye. 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 All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So thank you. Now for our budget presentation, our abbreviated budget presentation.
Take the names of all those who are leaving. Good evening again. One of the things that will happen in June is the board will be asked to take a vote on the final budget proposal. This has been a process that we've been going through really since August. One of the things I wanted to indicate before we get into the presentation that Mr. Orlando and I are going to make is that this is a process not only of putting together a budget but making choices under a circumstance where you've got a limited amount of state funding, federal funding, and most of the choices that we make have to do with limited funds coming from taxpayers. And we take that seriously. We do it with due diligence, and I want to go through that in an abbreviated form. This is an abbreviated form of the Finance Committee budget. Mr. Orlando will obviously fill in large parts of the financial pieces as we go through it. We're going to talk about, as I've mentioned, the careful planning of the budget. This is a demonstrated respect for public funds and a determined approach for public school children. The five areas we talk about this evening are the Act 1 limit, revenues, budget drivers, expenditures, and of course the calendar. First, let me talk a little bit about Act 1. Act 1, as many of you know, is a budget law that was put into place in 2006. This legislation from the legislature was designed to limit school district budget growth. That was its entire purpose. The Act 1, you want to talk about the accelerated budget schedule?
Sure. Under Act 1, as we talked in the past, the budget schedule has been accelerated. For example, in 2016-17, in December, less than halfway through the school year, we presented the budget, and then the board had to approve it in January. We're going to talk shortly about the Commonwealth budget. That has not been, well, was presented in February, still hasn't been finalized. So as you can see, prior to Act 1, the schedule for presenting the budget has been sooner in the year. The exceptions under Act 1, which we'll get into shortly, allow you to go above the index, and then if all else fails, you can go to the voters in backgammon referendum in order to approve a budget above the exceptions and the index. This schedule you see before under the index, the column there is Act 1, which is an average of the state average weekly wage and the employment cost index for federal schools, elementary and secondary. And you can see for the upcoming year is 2.4%. The right-hand side shows you the tax increases. As you can see, they have been above the index. We have applied for and been granted exceptions under Act 1. And you can see our proposed final budget is 4.44%. Under Act 1, there are 4 exceptions. The first 2 deal with debt service. They don't apply for us in 2016-17. The 2 that have the check mark, special education and retirement, we did apply to the Department of Education, and that was approved, both the special ed and the retirement exception.
Yeah, let me try and explain what you just said. So, in order to get this Act 1 index, there are indicators that you have to use. That's why it varies from year to year. The indicators you said were wage indexes, consumer price index, and those kinds of things. And it's really a look back year, correct? So if you have a 2.4, that means you can raise taxes legally 2.4% in addition or on top of your budget. So if the budget was $200 million and the index was 2.4, you could go 2.4% of that. There are some exceptions that the legislature says will allow you to increase beyond the Act 1 limit. So our Act 1 limit translates to $4.8 million. There's also an exception for special education, which allows 2.4 million more. In other words, the legislature in the law said if you're going to go beyond the exception, you can if your special education costs warrant it. Now, the total growth in the budget is $3.6 million, meaning the total increase of special education costs went up 3.6. The exception allows us to go to 2.2 million. So there's a shortfall. There's also an exception for the pension fund. Going back a number of years, the legislature and the governor decided that the pension fund, the amount of money that the state and local school districts put aside to fund public employee pensions was so overfunded that they gave basically, I guess you could call it a funding holiday, and they said you don't have to put money into the fund. Well, the boom of the 90s busted, and so now the legislature and I guess the pension board is saying you've got to make up for that. So that increased need for pension funding, they figure into the budget, and they've said, okay, there's a certain amount above the Act 1 index you're allowed to increase your budget. For Lower Merion, it's $1.8 million. However, the growth in the budget is actually $3 million. So let me go a step back. So the point that this slide is making is your Act 1 limit allows you to raise $4.8 million. The exceptions in the law say you can do special education at $2.2 million. And the PSERS is $1.8. But there's at least $3.6 million that expenses are not covered by tax increases. You should see the looks of the blank looks I'm getting right now. Mostly because the board has heard this before. There are no exceptions for enrollment growth. So one of the things that we face as a district is because our enrollment's going up, there's no exceptions that say that you can raise taxes to meet that growth. Okay? And there's no exceptions currently for debt service. So no matter what your debt service is. What's debt service? Debt service is basically the mortgage payment you make based on an increased cost of building, like building 2 high schools and additions to the school. What the normal person would call a mortgage rate, we call debt service, the amount of money that we owe based on those borrowings. The revenues.
So looking at the revenues, we talked about this in the past. There are many uncertainties that we have to deal with. We're trying to predict the revenues. So the first one is current and future tax revenues. Our revenues locally are based on property value. There's no EIT, so we have to see, we're really at the mercy of what the property value is in the school district. Interest income, probably harped on this the last several budgets I've done here. The interest rates just aren't where they were, 5, 10 years ago. So we haven't seen a decline in that revenue line. The state budget, the 16-17 budget, Governor Wolf did present on February 9th. That is still being debated. I can't tell you if it's going to take another 10 months like the last one did. Hopefully not. 15-16 Commonwealth budget just was resolved last month. And so we'll see how the 16-17 budget goes for approval. Looking where the money comes from, as Mr. Copeland mentioned, the vast majority of the money comes from the local taxpayers in order to fund the education in Lower Merion. There is just over under 13% of state revenue, very minimal federal revenues that we receive, and you can see that fund balance basically is we're taking money out of our fund balance to basically as revenue to tie the revenues and the expenses together.
So here are the areas that really cost us and where we spend our money on. Salaries and benefits. We're a human resource rich environment. Enrollment growth, debt service, the pension fund, special education and program enhancements. Now here's the enrollment. Just a brief snapshot of enrollment. Enrollment over the last 10 years has seen Lower Merion go up by 20%. And if the projections hold, that could be 41% in 15 years. So we are currently anticipating, if the numbers hold, when Act 1 was put into law, the population, school-age population in Lower Merion was about 6,900 students. It's now about 8,400. It's anticipated to be 9,000 by 2020, and it could be as high as 9,800 by 2025. Just a comparison of debt service and how it impacts us. So you can see 3 other local school districts, their debt service doesn't really come close to Lower Merion's. Neither does the enrollment growth. Now, this only goes back just to 2011-12, but you can see that these same districts have very, very small enrollment growth. We estimate that enrollment increases about 1% of the budget cost. So the interesting thing here is, here are the preliminary budgets for this year. You can see Lower Merion's 4.4, but you can see that Haverford, TE, Radnor, and Westchester, in the same ballpark. The interesting thing is, I think it's Westchester that has an earned income tax. Yeah, so they've got another form of income. Lower Merion has no earned income tax. If we did, that would generate about $19 million in income. Special education is about $46 million of the budget. That's special education, special needs, along with gifted and talented. I only point out this to also get to the issue of charter schools. We spend about $700,000 just on special education charter schools. The way the charter school law works in Pennsylvania, depending on your designated amount of money that each district spends, the charter school gets a significant portion of that. So every kid that goes to a brick and mortar charter school gets $19,000 from Lower Merion. But also every kid that goes to a cyber charter school, even though there is no brick and mortars, no building per se, also gets $19,000 per student. If those students get special education or identify as special needs, it turns out to be over $40,000 per student, even if the special education need might be speech services. Average speech services in Lower Merion are about $2,400 a year per student. Okay, so what makes Lower Merion special? 2 high schools. But you know what? When you have 2 high schools, you have twice the opportunity for kids. Twice the music programs, twice the art programs, twice the performance programs, twice the sports programs. Amazing opportunities for kids. Extensive course selections. The high school principals said to me a couple of months ago, are we still going to be able to have the same special opportunities for kids to double up in courses and almost major? I said, what are you talking about? And they said, well, you know, they kind of major. And I said, help me with this. Well, there are some students who can go through the Lower Merion School District and gain 7 years of math, 7 years of science, 7 years of social studies, 7 years of English because they double up the courses. That puts a strain on our staffing, but I would argue that that's an amazingly good thing to be able to provide for the kids in Lower Merion. Not an extravagance, but something that makes Lower Merion special. And that's just one of an example of different kinds of things. Elementary world languages, small class size is an important part of the Lower Merion experience. Now, we have taken steps, as many residents will note in the tax letter that they just received. We have taken steps to do partner schooling in the district, which means basically keeping our class sizes low in our elementary school, but allowing for new students to come in to go where class sizes are low. And we have an amazing ability to hire experienced staff. And again, that's a good thing, where we can say, you know what, we have the funds, if someone's got 10, 11, 12 years experience, to bring them into the Lower Merion School District. And our facilities are in top form. And you know, and you'll hear me say this towards the end of the thing, a lot of districts will sort of kick the can on facilities, let the crack in the sidewalk, you know, go, and who knows, maybe it'll get fixed somehow, but generally it doesn't. It gets wider. And that deferred maintenance costs money at the other end. The expenditures, this really just shows that the vast majority of our expenditures goes to instructional programs, and I think it's something to be proud of. This is the breakdown. It's the breakdown. Well, you can read that. It's exciting stuff there. It shows the same thing. So the proposed budget gives a real estate tax change and a median increase of what is it? Well, it's 4.4% plus the index. So that includes the index. Okay. For relative standing, this is the 5-year history of the difference between preliminary budget and the final budget, because I explained that 111.
Okay. So the question was asked about an historical comparison between preliminary and the final budget. So the last 5 years of approved budgets, you can see there's been some reduction in expenses. Just real briefly, the first one where there was reduction in the expense with no reduction in the tax increase, that was due to there was some state funding that was eliminated when we did the preliminary budget. If you remember the first year when Governor Corbett was in office, it wasn't his preliminary budget or Commonwealth budget presentation wasn't until March. We had to present in January, and when he came across with his Commonwealth budget, he eliminated some things like charter school reimbursement and some of the basic education funding, so we had to reduce the budget in order to balance the books. On the 12-13, there was no change in the expenditures. However, there was some debt service refundings that we did, so there was an increase in fund balance reliance in order to reduce the tax increase by $111. In 13-14, we reduced some expenditures dealing with professional services. That reduced taxes by $34. In 14-15, there was a reduction in some operations accounts, plus some increases in some of the revenue side, which brought the increase down $12. And last year, we had some debt service savings, so reduced that expenditure by $500,000, which brought the tax increase down $17.
So this year, every $1 million we reduce the budget, it would cut the median tax bill by about $33. If you cut back $500,000, obviously it's half that. The only point, and I'm not necessarily advocating, but the only point I make, if you count up all of the savings and then you take a look at what was lost, you know, we spent how much on a new roof for the schools this summer? That was about $700,000? $600,000. You know, $1 million is 8, 9 buses.
7 or 8 buses.
Okay, so the balance is always a cut on the budget, what it actually yields in terms of tax savings, as opposed to a cut on the budget and what's not being able to be purchased as time goes on. This is the Act 1 budget calendar. You can see where we are. We're coming to the end. I would consider some things. When you consider the unprecedented enrollment growth and the budgets that are within the range of neighbors, I think the history of the district has been one of enormous fiscal restraint. It's been said, interestingly enough, by some folks that I've talked with, well, you know, some of your expenditures come close to that of independent schools, and we shouldn't spend what independent schools spend. You know, the interesting thing is independent schools can guarantee largely the outcomes that they get because they guarantee what students come into the school. I think one of the strengths of public education, and absolutely one of the strengths of the Lower Merion, is not only do we relish the fact that we get a wide, diverse group of people that come into the schools, but we accept that as our mission. You got a birth certificate and an address, we are going to teach you, and we are going to do it in a fiscally responsible manner, and I think that's something to be proud of. One last thing, resist the temptation to defer maintenance. It's going to cost us in the end. The other thing to keep in mind is that in the year, one slide we probably should have kept in here was the one that was the Peaser slide, the pension slide. Some folks say, well, you got $15 to $20 million in reserve for pension. Well, the reason we have that in reserve for pension is we've estimated by the year 2020, we will get to the point where our expenditures will outpace our ability to make up for it under the Act 1 limit. And we'll have to pay the pension funds. We will begin to pay down that surplus to make up for the difference. And it looks like that will occur at around 2020. So for those who are interested, there's an expanded version of this on the website. I think it went along with the Finance Committee meeting. And that's what we got.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland, Mr. Orlando. I'd like to open it up for questions from the board at this time. Please, Dr. Gilbert.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Mr. Copeland, could you talk a little bit about your process that starts sort of very early on and going through the budget? Because I think actually your own internal process has been quite different than in previous years, and you know, the board had asked you to take a look at our process and to work on that. And so could you talk a little bit about that, please?
So for schools, they basically get a per capita budget based on an anticipated enrollment for the upcoming year. For departments, we ask that they look at it as a modified zero-based budget. What that means is rather than say, okay, I spent my allocation was X last year, so I'm going to build in 2 or 3% for inflation, and here's my new budget. We've said, no, you have to justify line item by line item based on something other than just a hunch or just to cover the amount, what you're going to need for next year. So if you say in the facilities, I want to know what repairs are you going to make. I want to know specifically what kinds of maintenance issues you're going to do. I want to make sure that you've gone to your cabinets to see how much floor wax you've got in there, and you've done an internal inventory before you decide that, well, we're going to request something else in the future. And each department has to go through and justify that. That occurs, they get from about August to about November to do that. By November, we then meet as a cabinet and we go through every single departmental budget line item by line item. In addition, we begin the staffing process. The staffing process is a staffing reconciliation that takes place in October. Want to know how many people were hired, what positions they were, how many people didn't we hire? Were there any changes that were made? And then that process gets entirely repeated again in January and for both staffing and departments. In addition to that, Mr. Orlando is going through and he's making estimates on what his revenue is. What's the transfer tax going to be? How many appeals were we? One of the things Lower Merion has begun to do is what do you call it, reverse appeals, where we will go to businesses or apartment buildings and say, you know what, based on what we know, the taxes are not high enough. And we've been successful to the tune of, I'm looking at our solicitor, and several $100,000. Okay, so, and in an attempt to really make sure that if we're going to continue to provide the same kind of high quality experience for kids, that we do it under an Act 1 limit and making sure that we've been quality stewards of the public trust and the public money.
Thank you. Questions? No questions? All right. Okay. Thank you very much. We will, the board will take its final vote on the budget at our June board business meeting. So at this time, I will ask to approve the minutes from the following Board of School Directors meetings. April 11th, Education Committee and Supplementary Regular Meeting. April 18th, Regular Board Meeting. May 9th, Education Committee and Supplementary Regular Board Meeting. And accept the following committee meeting minutes. April 20th, Communications. April 27th, Legislative. May 2nd, Curriculum. May 6th, Policy. And May 12th, Facilities and Purchasing. Are there questions? Is there a motion to approve? There's second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Move to Mr. Copeland now.
Thank you, Dr. Van Lynch. Just some highlights. First, one of the, I've had my second student cabinet meeting. This is, you know, I had fun. We had elected student representatives from both Harridan High School and Lower Merion High School. It's the second time they've come to the administration building, and we've discussed various topics with them of interest that are going on in the district. I just can't go on about what a great group of students they are. We talked for about an hour or so on the issue of student enrollment. I showed them the maps of the district and got their, we had a lot of conversations about, where, who's moving in, what schools are getting overcrowded and so forth and so on. They had some suggestions, and they quickly found that, their suggestions, they got the frustration of there's no easy answers to this. We also discussed grading and what they thought would be some interesting ways to grade, and we also discussed school start time. So we just had a neat experience. In addition, I'm pleased to announce the Lower Merion High School's robotics team, known as Dogma 1712, recently capped an exceptional year with a quarterfinals finish at the first Robotics World Championship in St. Louis, Missouri. First robotics teams design and build robots that are programmed to complete specific tasks. Dogma 1712 members, guided by staff advisors and mentors from local business partners like Lockheed Martin, spent nearly 30 hours per week building a unique robot customized to meet the competition's strict design parameters. They ultimately advanced to the quarterfinals, finishing in the top 2% of all teams in the world. A team of Lower Merion School District bus drivers earned first place at the 43rd Annual Montgomery Bucks School Bus Safety Competition last month, demonstrating superior driving skills, extensive knowledge of school bus rules and regulations. Is there like an entry fee? I mean, do we have to pay to watch this rodeo, Mr.? It's free. Okay. Well, let me know next time. I'll go to that. Okay. The Harriton and Ballackinwood Science Olympiad teams are headed to the National Science Olympiad in Wisconsin later this month. Harriton earned its 18th state title in the past 19 years at the PA Science Olympiad, and team members earned 6 gold medals and top 5 finishes in 22 of 23 events, a state record. Ballackinwood Middle School finished second in the state event and held 17 top 5 finishes and 3 gold medals. Congratulations to everybody's success. Human Resources. Superintendent recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached human resource actions, HR 1 through HR 6.
There are questions? Is there a motion to approve? There's a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will now have the report of the Curriculum Committee by Dr. Gilbert.
Thank you. The Curriculum Committee of the Board met on May 2nd. We reviewed a number of textbook proposals, which I'll read off here. We're going to do that shortly. All textbooks have undergone an extensive review process by administration and teachers. We reviewed a number of science textbooks. All of them are between 9 and 16 years old that we are replacing. An honors chemistry book that will cost $50,205.56. CP Chemistry, $30,190.67. AP Chemistry, $26,235. AP Environmental Science, $17,395. And Honors Genetics, $10,570. We also looked at a textbook for linear algebra and discrete mathematics for $2,764, and that's a new course. We had a presentation topic on the summer bridge program by Nancy Economessa. This is, we had a math acceleration review committee which met in 2015 and recommended establishing a summer bridge program for incoming 6th grade students who qualify for pre-algebra to provide support and to fill in gaps prior to the start of the school year. I'm just going to say, if you're interested in learning more about that, there's a video of the May 9th education meeting where there was a full report. I'm trying to speed this up for everybody here tonight. We also had an update on the math sequence by Jason Lilly. And we received this update about the math sequence and opportunities for acceleration, as well as bridge programs designed to assist students as they move through the math sequence. I just want to say the math sequence has been designed to provide high-level math courses for all students in a more student-driven manner than previously possible. And again, for more information, there was a full presentation that's on tape at the May 9th, from the May 9th board meeting. We also had an update on high school course electives from Principals Sean Hughes and Scott Eveslag. High school enrollment has been increasing, which is making it easier to run elective courses at both schools with a minimum of 15 students, and the board continues to direct the administration to monitor the availability of courses across the high schools to ensure equity and access, while recognizing that there may be some differences in the interests of students given that we now have critical mass at both schools. We also discussed the possible use of independent studies and new technologies to accommodate student interests. And we reviewed a contract for the Discovery Education Streaming, which is a web-based software application that is used to support teacher instruction and student learning. The cost is $8,794.80, and the committee unanimously moved to send the contract to review for facilities and purchasing, which I'm sure you'll hear about shortly. And that was our last meeting for this year, and so we will not be meeting again until the fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I messed up. I forgot to mention in HR that we just approved the extension of the interim assistant principal at Gladwin, Jen Kehoe, and she is here. Where is Jen? There she is.
I'm glad you caught that.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm very honored to be part of the agenda tonight, where we are a forward-thinking district to support all students, as well as where we recognized employees across the district for their years of service, their dedication, their commitment, and loyalty to the Lower Merion School District. I'm excited and grateful for the opportunity to continue my journey at Gladwin and Belmont Hills. So thank you.
Thank you, Jen. You're not the first one I messed up, but it's apologize. The administration would recommend items B through I taken in one motion. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached purchase of the new textbook, A Transition to Advanced Mathematics, in the amount of $2,764.57. Administration further recommends the Board of School Directors approves the attached purchase of the new textbook, Chemistry Foundation Edition, for use in the college prep chemistry course in the amount of $30,190.67. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approve the attached purchase of new textbooks, Chemistry 9th Edition AP Edition, for use in the AP Chemistry course in the amount of $26,235. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached purchase of the new textbook, Human Heredity, Principles and Issues, 11th edition, for use in honors genetics course in the amount of $10,570. Also, recommendation to approve the attached purchase of the new textbook, Living in the Environment, 18th edition, for use in the AP Environmental Science course in the amount of $17,395. Administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached purchase of the new textbook, Chemistry, Matter and Change, for use in the Honors Chemistry course in the amount of $30,205.56. The administration recommends the renewal of the attached MCIU service agreement for Discovery Education streaming for a term July 1, 2016 to June 30, 2017 at the cost of $8,794.80. And finally, the administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached contract with Hobson's Naviance in the amount of $17,504.04 for a term August 21st, 2016 to August 20th, 2017.
Thank you. Are there questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
There's a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Under Student Services, I'd like to take items A through C in one motion. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the Educational Services Agreements SS1 through SS11. Further, the administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the Educational Services Agreements SS12 through SS22. And finally, the administration recommends that the Board of School Directors authorize the Special Education Services Cost Plan Agreement for 2016-17 school year for estimated cost of $1,054,619.64.
Are there questions? Is there a motion to approve? Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will now have the report of the Facilities and Purchasing Committee by Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you. I'll try to race through this. We met this past Thursday, May 12th, and the first item was to review and approve the list of bills. We then reviewed and approved the purchasing report. It has 4 items on it. The one item was the bulk purchase of gasoline and biodiesel fuel through a consortium purchase with the MCIU. Our price for gasoline will be $1.2869, and for biodiesel, $1.3458 per gallon for the next 12 months. We also approved replacement of stair treads at Kinwood Elementary for $23,992.50. And we also reviewed and approved a contract to replace 2 floor scrubbers, one for Lower Merion, one for Harridan. Our current floor scrubbers are approximately 7 to 8 years old and are nearing the end of their useful life. Purchase price for both is $49,819.80. And finally, we reviewed and approved a contract to purchase replacement boilers for Kinwood Middle School for $215,814.60. These boilers are nearing the end of their useful life and will need to be replaced right now through our current 5-year plan. All these contracts were negotiated through a state-approved consortium bidding to get us the lowest possible provider. We then reviewed and approved a contract with First String Sports to lease Lower Merion High School facilities, predominantly Kobe Bryant Gym, for 10 days in June and July for $1,500. This is to support a basketball camp that has been run out of Lower Merion High School for several years. We reviewed and approved a contract for Final Site to redesign, upgrade, and host the district's website. It has been several years since the website was last upgraded. In addition, this contract will allow Final Site to host our website. By hosting, we will receive better patch upgrades, and so hopefully service will not be interrupted. The cost of the contract are $25,000 for the design and $29,000 per year to host. We then reviewed and approved a contract from E+ Catalyst for replacement switches for $311,509.70. This is part of the district's 5-year IT plan, where we replace older switches installed back in 2008 timeframe are being replaced to avoid service disruption and provide adequate bandwidth. This purchase is eligible for the E-rate funding. As such, when the district is applying for this, we should possibly see 40% of this cost reimbursed. We also reviewed and approved a resolution to request reimbursement for some of our snow removal work this past winter from the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency. We then went on and reviewed and approved a contract for Mainline School Night to provide adult education classes in Lower Merion High School campus for 9 days in the fall and 10 days in the winter spring. The district is charging Mainline School $23,892.50 for both terms, and the district has been renting this space for several years to this organization. We then reviewed and approved the contracts as outlined by Dr. Gilbert, the Discovery Education Streaming and the Hobson's Naviance Guidance Program. We then reviewed and approved a proposal from Glack and Thomas Panzai for redesign of the bus loop on Tower Lane at Welsh Valley for a fee of $3,500. A large tree has been removed, and we need to plan to provide a better place for our students to wait to take the bus home at the end of the day. We reviewed and approved 2 work orders for Element Environmental Services. The first work order is for an additional $6,650 for the drinking water evaluations I'm sure you've all heard about. And then the second work order is for a not to exceed amount of $7,310 to remove asbestos tiles here in the DAO as we do construction for hopefully openings in September. We reviewed and approved a contract with Gilbert Architects to assist in the renovations of the DAO for a not to exceed amount of $109,980, and a similar contract with Reynolds Construction to manage the construction for a not to exceed amount of $105,000. Finally, we did review and approve change orders for Welsh Valley for a net increase of $75.91. We had to renumber lockers for an increase of $1,833, but also had a back charge to Baver for repair of electrical cables and conduits damaged during demolition of $1,757.18 decrease. At the end of that, we received updates on our various construction projects, Welsh Valley, Kinwood, Penn Valley, and Gladwin. We also received an update here at DAO. The bidding is all done. Permit has been applied for. Hopefully we'll have it soon. Total amount is $5 million. Estimated amount at this time is $5,748,761. One thing that did come up was the township requested we had concrete barriers around propane tanks in the back of this building. Those tanks are used for our science lab, but we'll discuss this in additional meetings. And we did discuss the temporary classrooms at Penn Wynne. Some of the issues we discussed were the cost of cost of adding 10 additional parking spaces is increased from $130,000 to $170,000. We also did discuss the stormwater basin that needs to be reconfigured to accommodate poor soil drainage. Right now, the estimated cost for this entire project is $1.4 million. We did discuss also how much this will impact the playing field and see if there's some things that we can do about that. Our next meeting is June 9th at 8:30 in this room. Thank you.
Under Business Office and Finance, I'm going to take items B through H in one motion. Unless a board member would like me to separate any of those, seeing that there are none. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approve the following motions: approve the list of bills, approve the financial report for April 2016, appoint Victor Orlando as the Assistant Secretary of the Board of Directors for a one-year term, July 1, 2016 through June 30, 2017. Elect Christopher Stouffier as the Treasurer for a one-year term beginning 7/1/2016 through June 30, 2017. Set the bond for the Treasurer of the Board in the amount of $100,000 for the 2016-17 school year. Pursuant to Policy 702, accept a donation of 3 recycled plastic picnic tables from the Belmont Hills Elementary Home and School Association with an estimated value of $3,430.74, and we thank them for that donation. And declare the surplus equipment as surplus property and authorize the disposition thereof, and that is per the attachment.
There are questions? Is there a motion to approve? There a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Again, thank you to Belmont Hills HSA for the tables for students.
Under the Facilities and Operations section, I'm going to take items A through L. Mr. Driscoll went over them all in detail. Unless a board member would like me to separate any of those, seeing that there are none. The Board of School, the administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the following motions: award the bids for the Montgomery County Joint Purchasing for transportation heating fuel, the stair treads at Kinwell Elementary School, the custodial rider floor scrubber machines at Lower Marion High School and Harrington High School, and the boiler replacement at Bella Kilwood Middle School. Approve the designation of agent resolution with PEMA that authorizes business manager to sign all related documentation necessary for reimbursement for the January 2016 snowstorm. Approve the license agreement with First String Sports to have summer basketball camp at Lower Marion High School. Approve the lease agreement with Mainline School for designated space at the Lower Marion High School as for the fall semester and the spring in 2016-17. Approve the order with Active Internet Technologies, known as Final Site for web design, the amount of $25,000, and that is a subject to solicitor's review of that contract. Approve the quote from E+ in the amount of $311,509.70. Approve Glackman Thomas Panzak, a proposal for opinion of probable cost for landscape services at Walsh Valley Middle School that is not to exceed $3,500. Approve the work order professional services with Element Environmental Solutions at the District Administration Office that is not to exceed $7,310. Also to approve Element Environmental Solutions cost estimates for drinking water evaluation that is district-wide for not to exceed $6,650. Approve the Gilbert Architect, that's attachment 1, to Exhibit D for construction administrative services here at the District Administrative Office that is not to exceed $109,980. Approve Reynolds Construction LLC, Exhibit E for construction services at the administrative building. That's $90,000 lump sum and $15,000 for closeout for a total of not to exceed $105,000. And approve the change orders for Walsh Valley Middle School additions and alterations, and all those motions are per the attachments.
There are questions? Is there a motion to approve? So moved. There's second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll now have the report of the Policy Committee. Ms. Robinson.
Thank you, Dr. Van Lynch. The Policy Committee meeting of the board took place on May 6th in this room at 8:30 a.m. We discussed the policy we had second readings for the policy 259 and AR 259, gender expansive and transgender students. This policy administrative regulation is seeking to confirm the district's position as it pertains to gender identity and to provide guidelines for staff parents for ensuring equity and non-discrimination at all levels of education, as well as with regard to all activities. We didn't come up with this policy all by ourselves. We actually had a whole group that worked on it, and I would love it if the group would stand up. Some of them are still here. No?
They're wonderful, but they have to be at work early.
Yes, yes. Some of them are still here. Thank you. We also discussed policy and AR 354, 454, 554, and 831, maintaining appropriate boundaries. This policy AR is seeking to clarify appropriate student-staff relations and is modeled after the PSBA recommended policy. Those are the 2 second readings. We had first readings of policy 626, 626.1, 808, and 827. These were regarding federal fiscal compliance, travel reimbursement, food service, and conflict of interest. New rules for the federal grants funds known as the Uniform Grant Guidance, or UGG. The UGG became effective on December 26, 2014 for each local education agency. It became effective for all federal awards awarded on or after July 1st, 2015. The regulations indicate that for federal grants subject to this part, all administrative requirements, program manuals, handbooks, and other non-regulatory materials that are inconsistent with the requirements of this part must be superseded upon implementation of this part by the federal agency, except to the extent that it is required by statute or authorized in accordance with the provisions of Section 200.102 exceptions. Therefore, certain policies such as those proposed here must be enacted, and at a minimum, procedures should be developed to meet the UGG requirements. So this was done just to be in compliance with federal requirements. We also discussed policy 244, educational research. This was a suspended policy, which was suspended in September of 2015. The policy is being brought back because we have revised it to set forth a more rigorous screening process. An institutional review board is planned, including members of the cabinet and school as appropriate. And we will get further guidance on that next month. The next meeting of the policy committee, although it wasn't scheduled before, is now scheduled for June 3rd, 2016.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. We reviewed and passed policy 259. So the following policy has been reviewed for a second reading, policy 354, 454, 554, 831, all the same policy or groupings of the same policy, maintaining appropriate boundaries with students. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The following policies were reviewed for a first reading. Policy 244, educational research. Policy 621, federal fiscal compliance. Policy 622, travel reimbursement, federal programs. Policy 812, food service. And policy 827, conflict of interest. We will now have the report of the Communications Committee. Ms. Hackman.
Thank you so much. The Communications Committee met on April 20th. We talked about the now passed but then upcoming Women's Leadership Conference, which was a big success. We talked about the new board highlights publication that will be put out following business meetings, which I know the community will continue to appreciate, especially after a meeting like tonight where we took some pretty significant actions. We had a discussion about the strategic plan and the community resource network and how to engage volunteers in schools. And we demoed some software called the School Volunteer that we're hoping can be a one-stop portal for parents and volunteers to put their information in on an annual basis to create a database of potential volunteers in schools. Right now, the HSAs are all looking at the software because we're hoping it can be useful for kind of small volunteer activities in the schools as well as bigger volunteer activities across the schools. And we also talked about a final proposal to update the website, and we discussed how the website software can integrate very easily with the school volunteer software. So I think you'll see a lot of, hopefully, positive changes in terms of using electronic tools to communicate what the district is doing, as well as engaging folks in the schools on in a volunteer basis, expanding the footprint of the Community Resource Network. The next meeting of the Communications and Community Engagement Committee is this Wednesday at 8:30 a.m., not at 7 p.m., which was listed somewhere, I think, on the upcoming meetings. So just note it's in the morning. Thanks.
We will have the report of the Legislative Committee, Dr. O'Leary.
The Legislative Committee met last month and had our annual legislative forum, and we want to extend our thanks to our local, I guess, state legislators who continue to be very supportive of public education and very generous with their time. Mary Jo Daly was there, Pam DeLisso, Tim Briggs, and Greg Vitale, and there was a long and detailed conversation with the audience, and we're pleased that they come every year and participate with us. That concludes our legislative agenda for the year. The meeting this month is going to be canceled, which was going to be on the 25th, but we're not going to hold that meeting.
Thank you, Dr. O'Leary. We will now have audience recognition. Please sign in with Ms. LaPera if you're interested in offering public comment on agenda or non-agenda items, 3-minute limit, and if you could tell us your name and where you reside in the district. Thank you.
I have Lauren Fenning, Leanne Shu, I think, and Julie Williams.
Hi, my name is Lauren Fenning. I have been a Penwyn resident for over 12 years. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. In light of the Penwyn Elementary School expansion and the required water basin, residents ask for one non-negotiable aspect: to leave our school playing field open and intact and green. There has been an incredible relationship recently between Penwyn and our commissioners that puts common sense and custom solutions at the forefront of our unique challenges. We are very appreciative of this, and it has been a very hard-won journey. And we feel that they also agree about that one non-negotiable aspect, that our school playing field must be kept open and intact and green. If truth be told, I think the parents of Penwyn here tonight would like to be home and like to be hanging out in their community. And they'd like to do that and be assured that our school board members agree and understand that we cannot have an elementary school that does not have a large, intact playing field of green, and that common sense prevails. Selecting sod instead of seed will give us back our playing field faster. And option 2 in the school expansion will save our field entirely. There is a possibility that it will be difficult to sell homes in Penwyn if all we have to offer is an elementary school that does not offer a place for children to play outside. It does not offer a place for families to gather, and it does not offer a place for special events like Alex's lemonade stand. So I am not being dramatic when I say that the future of our Penwyn community might very well be in your hands. And switching gears for a moment, I want to discuss the challenges of communicating across government and community groups and the benefits to its residents very quickly. The Penguin Civic and the Homeschool Association have made incredible inroads to communicate with each other on our community issues, and it was not historically so. And if I was to ask the school board, how do you relate to the commissioners, how do you communicate, and I was to ask the commissioners, how do you talk with the school board, they might say, well, we all want to talk, but that group doesn't want to talk, and we all want to talk, but that other group doesn't want to talk. And this may seem like it's a side conversation, but I do think that it's in fact crucial to the field issue and really any other issue in Lower Merion. And who is brave enough to shift the paradigm? Who has enough foresight to see that a strong connection between the school board and commissioners will better ensure that our neighborhood problems have customized and common sense solutions? Thank you for listening.
So before the next speaker begins, I just want to Ms. Finney's point, our board has been extremely proactive in reaching out to the commissioners to the point where we've scheduled an intergovernmental structure to meet on Thursday, June 9th. So I don't want it to be assumed that the conversation is not reciprocal and we don't share the same concerns with respect to our constituents, the students and families and community of the district. So to that end, I was going to announce that at the end, but it's certainly appropriate, I think, given some of your comment, that this board certainly wants to work very closely with the commissioners and has reached out multiple times and has had meetings. And so hopefully this structure with the Narberth Borough Council as well as the Board of Commissioners will allow the collaboration that's necessary so that we can make the best decisions for the students and families of the district.
And I only mention that, Robin, because it's hard. I'm sorry. I don't doubt that 1 minute that everybody does want to communicate and have everything go smoothly, but it's hard. It's two very different groups, and every community is unique, but Penguin really has some very unique issues facing them this year. And we're so afraid that things are getting lost in translation. And once it's done, it's done. Like, there's no taking buildings off the field. We can't take it back. And so I only say that not to criticize or condescend. That's not ever my point. That would get me nowhere. That would get all of us nowhere. But to really stress, everybody here has stayed so late. We love our community, and we just want to make sure that our very unique issues are really being communicated, that our green space is literally the only thing that we have. That little field, that's it. And we need it. So thank you.
I just wanted to let the community know that that meeting is in progress, and the conversation will be around the structure and what the collaboration degree to which we can collaborate around issues relevant to the entire community. So thank you. So next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Leanne Shore. I am a resident of the district, and I have 2 children at Penguin Elementary School. I wholeheartedly agree and concur with everything that Lauren had said. Penguin is a very unique community. If you would come to school any day after school, our green space is full of children. Parents are sitting at the picnic tables that will now be removed because of the catchment basin to socialize, to talk, and for the kids to actually have some recess time. When I told my son I was coming here tonight, I said, what do you want the school board to know about your recess? And he basically said, it's not really recess. If we're on the blacktop, which is basically where all the children would be pushed if the green space is taken, they're packed in like sardines. They're not allowed to kick a ball. They're not allowed to run. They're not allowed to throw a ball. Their activities are severely restricted due to fear of injury and because there is no space. You are expecting to have up to 1,000 kids at Penguin in the next 4 years, and you would restrict the small amount of green space that we have for possibly 3 with your plan. Option 2 is a fantastic option. Kids need recess. They need quality recess. Studies are out there. I don't even have to bring the studies. I know you're all intelligent people. You know the studies are out there saying that quality recess improves retention, it improves focus, and it improves behavior. What's going to happen if you take that green space away and you have at least, let's say, 6 to 7 classrooms of kids that average about 20 kids a class in a small blacktop space for their activity time? As someone mentioned, recess times have decreased. We're so ahead of the curve in this district in so many different areas, but I feel like we're falling behind the times in this regard. This is a Band-Aid issue that you're trying to apply to a larger problem that you have. We have an influx of students, you have apartments. People are clamoring to come into this district, and rightfully so, for the quality education that the children receive. Please take a look at the options. Take a look at option 2. This is such a great community. We need the green space. If we add on and we take away that green space, property values will drop. Connections will be lost. There is no way that we will be able to continue with Alex's lemonade stand as discussed. It won't happen. It is a huge community builder in our area and a huge sense of pride for our kids at our school. Please take a look at option 2, and please regard the activities of our kids and the influx of children that you will have coming into the school in the coming years. There's nowhere for them to go. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Williams. I'm a resident of Penn-Wynn. I'm here today to talk about both the issue with the green space and overall the expansion at our school. As you know, Penn-Wynn is the largest elementary school in this district, and it will increase substantially over the next few years. When you increase school size, you decrease the quality of the education that children receive. Substantial research has shown that smaller schools promote belongingness, help difficult kids be noticed and taken care of, create a more intimate and personalized learning environment, allow a cohesive vision among teachers, operate more like a community than a corporation. There's a greater sense of unity. The students participate more because they are needed rather than redundant. There are higher levels of academic achievement for students in smaller schools. The Brookings Institution has shown that in schools enrolling over 800 students, which Penn-Wynn does, first graders gained fewer literacy skills than those in middle or smaller sized schools. By allowing Penn-Wynn to continue to expand without considering the dirty R word of redistricting or building another school, you are creating, not you, but the system is creating disparities and inequities in the educational experience of schools within Lower Merion District itself. Students in Gladwin will receive a much higher quality of education, of specials, of recess than students at the largest school of Penn-Wynn. And this is very concerning. And I know you all care. We've seen tonight how this district cares about its students. The passage of the amendment tonight was amazing. You know, that's why we speak. We care. It's a great school district. These students already, they come home and they are itching to move. They have maybe 15 minutes when they get to go outside to walk around the blacktop or to play on the playground, but not do certain activities because there's too many kids or it's unsafe. You cannot take away their green space. We cannot continue to expand the school without thinking about the impact on the students themselves. So I really urge you to find a better solution for our children. Thank you.
Diana Kerry, Jennifer Shockley, Renita Thomas, and Karen Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Diana Curry. I live in Wynwood. I have a 4th grader and a kindergartner at Penn-Wynn. And in a few months, I will be having another child, thereby contributing to the overcrowding issue at Penn-Wynn. But I come today as a concerned parent, but also as a concerned physician. I'm a practicing neurologist. All of you are very well read and well informed. We know that there is an abundance of studies showing the link between daily physical exercise in children's brain health. And these studies are not to be just kind of swept under the rug or, yeah, we know about them. There is physical evidence. We know that children who get daily cardiovascular exercise, they have brain MRIs and PET scans that show higher level of activity in, say, the frontal lobes and the temporal lobes than children who don't. And frontal lobe and temporal lobe is where we carry out decision making, executive functioning, handling of different emotions. I think that the green space where our children play kickball and soccer and tag cannot be taken away for the sake of their mental health. And to say that we have a blacktop, we have the wood chip area, those areas are just simply not enough. The green space is where friendships are formed. It's where conflict resolution is learned. These are all things that are so invaluable, and our children just cannot learn it in any other place. So I highly urge you to carefully consider this issue. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Shockley. I'm an 8-year resident of Penn-Wynne. I also have 2 children at Penn-Wynne Elementary School, and I'm on the board of the HSA. I just wanted to say that we really want you to consider the long-term effects of the plan, because we see that the overcrowding continues to happen. And when I asked my children what they did at recess, they complain day in and day out that they have to stay on the wood chips, that they can't run, that they're relegated to the blacktop for various reasons. And I think that the most enjoyable time they have is after school with their friends on the green space. So hopefully you'll consider keeping that intact for us. Thanks.
Hi, good evening. My name is Renita Thomas. I live in Wynwood. I have 3 children currently at Penn-Wynne, and I have 1 coming next year, 1 moving on to BC. For the last 2 years, I've been president of the HSA. About 2 hours ago, I became president emeritus of the HSA at Penn-Wynne. So this is my second long meeting of the night. I just want to talk about the green space because, I know that we keep talking about Lower Merion, and obviously we moved here because this is a great school district. I grew up in Long Island in Great Neck, which also is like a similar kind of school district. And I know everyone moved to that district. We moved from another district because it was important to be in a good area, good schools, and that's why everyone wants to be here. But our kids don't deserve green space because we live in a good school district. Our kids don't deserve green space just because this is Lower Merion. Our kids deserve green space to run around because they're kids. And it's somewhat, with all due respect, kind of ridiculous to me that I read a piece of paper that said, well, because it's $20,000 cheaper to put seed versus sod, we're going to go with that and let the kids lose their green space. We're talking about 800 children which need to be able to run around. This is what this paper says to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that because of the main alternative, because of the storm management requirements on the 4 modular classrooms that are being installed this summer, most of Penn-Wynne Elementary School will be closed from June 2016. The field will be closed from June 2016 through most of the 2016-2017 school year. At this point, the main alternative is sod versus seed over the stormwater catchment basin. The sod planting opens 5 months sooner, but will cost $20,000 more to seed. So my feeling is that our children don't deserve to be sold out for $20,000, first of all, for 800 children. Second of all, we actually have a Penn-Wynne parent in our school district, John McCaughey, who is the owner of Terran Landscaping, which is a major landscaping company in the Lower Merion area. His wife was at our HSA meeting tonight, and she said she asked him about this, and he said that's absolutely not correct. He's never even, as a landscaper, he's never heard of anything taking that long to dry, and he doesn't know where we're getting this information from. So I want to bring that to the board's attention because this is a major important, part of the plan. So those were the main things I want to say. I want to say that option 2A allows us to keep our playground intact, our green space intact. Our children deserve to be kids. We're already the smallest, have the smallest green space in the district with the most amount of kids, and we owe them a place to go. Thank you very much for your time.
If I can, just before the next speaker starts, to my knowledge, the board made no firm decision about sod or seed. We're just hearing about it for the first time. And in terms of the use, and in terms of the efforts that the administration is making right now to try and recover as much, even with the management system. Mr. Ganan and his folks were out there saying, how can we redesign this in a way to minimize and reclaim as much green space as we can? And I don't want to speak for the board. I think there was a leaning towards the sod, just no firm decision had been made. Is that a fairly statement?
We did discuss it, but no decision was made, no.
So I'm not quite sure what piece of paper. Mr. Ganan, could you speak just briefly about where we are with our attempts to reclaim as much green space as possible? My apologies, ma'am. I just wanted to. Yeah, while he's walking there, I mean, this was one of the issues that was a requirement for the school district in order to get the modulars in place.
So you're correct. Last week we presented more details about the construction of the stormwater basin. Because of the soil conditions, it turned out the stormwater basin that we have to add had to be larger in scope, just because of the way the soil conditions are and how fast the water will infiltrate. So when we do this, and we laid it out and look at the amount of space that it's going to take to come in and build this thing, and then we'll backfill over the whole thing, and then there has to be some kind of restoration, whether it's seed or sod. We're concerned because it is a large amount of space, about, we figure 30% or a third of the playground area. Plus, we're going to have the modular classrooms sticking out in the area that's down where the current kickball field is. So we've talked to our engineers, and we're looking at whether we can reduce the footprint of the stormwater basin by reducing the overall requirements that are needed right now to handle the modular classrooms. We're also looking at rerouting a stormwater line that was going to go from the downspouts of the modular classroom over to the new basin. We can run it toward the edge of the playing field instead of straight through the middle of it. And then lastly, we're also looking, we were with the principal this afternoon walking around the site, as to where we can reposition the kickball diamond, if you will, so that it can be in use after the modular classrooms go in and after the rest of the stormwater basin work is done. And we've also looked at the area over on Haverford Road in front of the school to see what areas or what use could be made of that area. It's not really large enough for kids to go out and play soccer or play kickball, but there may be some other activities that can be promoted there, and it may be an option for us to expand the available green space.
Thank you. I think the couple of things we want to bring out is that the expansive nature of the basin was not anticipated, and that Mr. Ganan's department, along with our engineers and construction managers, have been looking at ways to try and minimize the situation and return the field as quickly as possible. So I wouldn't want anybody to think that that's not the case.
Good evening. I'm Karen Smith. I'm a Penn-Win resident. I've been in Penn-Win for about 7 years and have a kindergartner and a second grader attending Penn-Win Elementary. I guess my case here tonight is just to ask you and ask how many of you have actually been to Penn-Win during recess, where there's 120 kids, and on a cold day in the wintertime when they're only allowed on the blacktop. You hear lots of complaints. Now, I've recently just got the opportunity to start seeing other elementary schools as my kids are doing sports. I would ask you to compare that to perhaps Penn Valley, where they have 3 playgrounds, 2 baseball fields, at least 1 soccer field of what I see just on a Saturday, compared to the 1 playground, the one kickball field, and the 1 soccer field. It is a tremendous difference. So not only talking about looking at this from just the water basin, but when you're considering the education that the kids are getting and what they're going to have going forward, even looking at the Go Forward project and taking into account how we will impact our children's lives by taking that type of space away during their educational environment. And having to make them choose, even during this environment, of are you going to go to the front to the blacktop or the back to the wood chips? Asking a 6-year-old where they want to go when their friends could be in another classroom and where they're going to spend that 20 minutes could be a very difficult decision. And it may not be a comfortable one because they may not be with their friends. So I just ask you to keep all of these things in mind as you make these decisions. Thank you.
Elise Whitaker, Alexis Adorns, Tanya Schreiber, Tracy Spivak.
Hi, I'm the mom of 2 boys. My son, Ben, Elise Whitaker. I'm a Wynwood resident. My son, Ben, is a 6th grader at BC, and my son, Colin, is a 2nd grader at Penn Wynne. Our family moved to Lower Merion from Chicago for the school district and for the community. We actually, my oldest son actually went to Belmont Hills for kindergarten. He went to Marion Elementary for 1st through 3rd, and he went to Penn Wynne for 4th and 5th. The first thing I would like to state is, although maybe the percentage isn't relative to the amount of people that we have at the school, of the 3 schools, we have the strongest community of families that are so passionate about representing their school and about helping their children. I know we all are. I'm just saying, I've been to 3 of the 5 elementary schools with children attending those elementary schools, and Penn Wynne is an amazing, amazing community. And one of the reasons we ended up purchasing our house within Penn Wynne rather than Marion or Belmont Hills was for the parks, was for our walking distance to the school, primarily actually the walking distance to the school, and the fact that there were so many young families within our neighborhood. I guess the biggest frustration I have is that I feel like this committee has been extremely evasive in terms of items that have been brought to our attention recently that are of great concern. The safety issue, we've had an ongoing safety issue both before and after school. We have 2-sided streets. No one is coming out to address the fact that we need one-sided streets, we need one-way streets, we need a solution for the way the traffic is being routed before school, we need a solution for how the traffic is being routed after school. We have brought this up at multiple civic association meetings, and for some reason it's just gone away. No one's gotten back to us, no one's told us what the next steps are regarding those issues, and meanwhile we have children that walk in the street without sidewalks to and from school every single day. Furthermore, having 2 boys, I will tell you that the lack of green space that we're all talking about, it's a little bit ridiculous. At Marion Elementary, the children were allowed to play on the playgrounds, of which we both know there are 2 massive, massive fields on Marion Elementary. There are also not 1, not 2, but 3 play structures at Marion Elementary. There is 1 play structure at Penn Wynne, and there is 1 small field at Penn Wynne. Part of that field is blocked off because of the overcrowding of the traffic problem in the morning and in the afternoon. So my question is, why are we treated, we don't feel like it's equal from school to school. Our concern is that, why does Marion Elementary have 2 parks? Why does Marion Elementary have 3 play structures? Why are you about to take away more of our green space per student? Why are they now not even gonna have picnic tables near their 1 play area? It doesn't feel like there is equality from school to school. And as I mentioned in the Civic Association meeting a few months ago, every school has visitor parking lots but Penn Wynne. That has still not been addressed. Not only do we have no parking in the streets, but we don't even have 1 visitor parking space. I have to tell you, Ms. Gilbert, I see you keep like kind of making condescending faces and laughing when people are speaking up here. Are you agreeing with us or disagreeing with us?
I'm just sorry. I'm not actually making anything. All I was saying to Robin was that Kenwood doesn't have one either.
There are other.
But why,
there are other schools.
Why are there not standards
have
from school to
visitor
school?
parking.
Why does Marion Elementary have 6 guest parking
Okay,
spaces?
so I'm sorry, your time is up, so I
So,
appreciate the questions. But certainly, we're not being condescending at all, but there are many schools, unfortunately, in the district that don't have visitor parking, and we park in the neighborhoods and get to the school as best we can.
One school get one thing and one school doesn't. Aren't we all paying taxes and come here for the same reason?
I'm going to ask Mr. Copeland, could you just speak to the traffic and safety? Because we've
I
done
know,
quite a bit over the last couple months. So I just want to make sure to get that on record.
I think clearly the Lower Merion schools have been built over a period of time in various neighborhoods under different conditions. As you heard, Kinwood is a great school, but one of the things it suffers from is not having very much space there at all, not much parking space and so forth. Penn Valley, I guess because of the way it was built and the area, was lucky enough to have some space in the background. We are hearing, one of the things that we've been doing over the last several months is really collecting more and more information, looking at our enrollment, and trying to make some decisions about alternatives about what we do. We're faced with an exploding enrollment and schools that were built at a time that where none of them were frankly built with the idea that they would have to get as large as they are. We spent a significant amount of time looking over cafeterias and seeing if there's a way that we can expand those so that we could speed up the serving lines and kids could spend less time standing in lines. We found in Penn Valley, the principal said that they don't have enough gym space, so they actually have to hold kindergarten in the lobby. So I think a lot of the schools are experiencing growth. There's no elementary school where our enrollment is low, and one of the things that the board has decided to do, the administration recommended, I guess it was last month, that we not yet go ahead with any remodeling at Penn Win and put off that decision until the fall. The board has looked at a new elementary school, what that would do. We did that at an April 4th meeting. The board asked the administration for more information, and we rescheduled another meeting June 6th to have a second open public work session of the board to discuss the questions that were asked then and what other options we have going forward. So I know, because the administration is working hard to answer the board's questions, that they're asking some of the same questions that have been asked tonight to see if there are ways that we can do it differently.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexis Adorno. I'm a 3-year resident in Ardmore. We moved from Philadelphia to Ardmore for the schools. I have 2 children at Penn Win, a 4th grader and a 1st grader, and an incoming kindergartner. I just wanted to say, I'll be short, my kids have so much pride in Penn Win, and I think that a lot of it comes around the green space. They love playing in the fields, they love the fun fair, they love Alex's lemonade stand. My son does early morning sports, he loves capture the flag, he loves soccer. And coming from Philadelphia, we didn't have that in our school, so it's really a point of pride for our family. I just urge you to look for a long-term solution. If this is a Band-Aid, please look to other options that don't disturb the green space. I cannot imagine a year without a field, especially with 3 kids in the school. As it is, they don't have a lot of time for physical activity that they need. I think as an educator and a mom, I know that kids need so much physical activity to be better focused, and I also think that it's a huge strain on the teachers if this happens, and on Mr. B. And I just wanted to let you know that when I told my son I was coming here tonight, he asked if he could come also. So I think that just points to Penn Win pride. Thank you.
Hi, guys. So I've heard a lot of, I'm sorry, my name's Tanya Schreiber, and I live at 246 Rockland Road. Oops, sorry, it's a little short. So I've heard a lot from the superintendent and board over the last few months about their commitment to keeping the neighborhood lines. This is the first time, and I'm glad to hear it, that they're considering a 7th school. On Thursday, I was at a meeting where I heard that the trailers have gotten to $1.4 million. Assuming that 5th graders can go in there, and that's 25 kids per class, 100 kids, we're going to be spending $14,000 per seat for a trailer that's going to last 2 to 3 years. Now, the board has blamed the township for adding requirements such as stormwater drainage, parking, ADA ramps when they install the trailers, but it's very clear that the township is done looking at trailers as being temporary. They see it as permanent. They want any variances and grandfathers to be addressed. And so the season of temporary trailers to keep neighborhood lines, that is past, it is gone. So I don't know how we can get past the point where we are locked into these district lines no matter how much money we have to waste putting in temporary trailers. Now, to watch all this waste of money while we sit here and beg for children's play space, we're not even discussing the fact that there's going to be 800 kids in one building. When we know that impacts the way children can progress through school, it drops reading scores, it drops math scores, it reduces the ability for teachers to be able to talk, interact amongst classes and talk about students and follow them as they go through a school. We know at 450 there's a drop in scores. At 800 there's a drop in scores. The last time, the reason none of these schools were built for this is because the last time we had this level of enrollment, we had 9 elementary schools. We can't expect the same 6 to take over those last 3, especially when there's opportunities like St. Charles Seminary to possibly build a 7th elementary school that'll be walkable and maybe relieve some of the bus issue as well. We have 40 kids per gym class running to warm up in loops and then taking maybe 2 turns per class to throw a basketball, and that's counted as gym. It's not fair to add 100 more kids to this facility. Now, I know that Penwyn pays some of the lowest taxes per household. And so maybe that's why the decision's made to give them or decide that it's not as important for them to have the space to play or the recess space. Maybe this decision's being made by accident without realizing that it's impacting the children this way. But I do think the children of this community deserve the same quality of education. And so I would hope that you would reconsider the impact this is going to have on those children. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tracy Spivak. I live right across the street from Penwyn Elementary. My biggest concern is the size of Penwyn Elementary. I believe that the size and all the children, it puts the teachers under stress. Education is less individualized. I can tell you that my daughter's teacher has said to me multiple times, I just have so many kids. I heard a comment earlier that what makes Lower Merion special is the small class size. You know, I don't think 24, 25 kids in the first grade is small class size. I mean, one teacher, 24, 25 kids, these are little kids. These are first graders. You know, you have brand new 6-year-olds. We moved into the district for the education, and, you know, I'm second guessing it. I'm sure if I left, no one would be sad because we have couple more spaces. But, you know, but the bottom line is I hear from my daughter all the time, you know, you can't speak up in school, Mom. There's just no time. You know, and there's no time because there's so many kids, and it's a hurting mentality at that point when there are that many children. I mean, 800 kids at Penwyn. You know, just to comment on the green space, if you go outside right after school, that whole green space is full. It's full with families. Everyone hangs out there. When the green space is not in use, when it's wet and muddy, if you walk by the blacktop, you really can't walk by there going into the office to drop something off without hearing one of the aides say, don't run. You cannot run on the blacktop. You know, to tell a kid not to run in their 20, 25 minute of recess seems cruel. You know, the first time I heard it, I did a double take. I said, did she really say don't run? But then someone said, yeah, they're not allowed to run on the blacktop. You know, additionally, their playgrounds, it's very small and it's crowded with equipment, so there's really no running space. So these kids that get curriculum shoved down their throats all day need some time just to run around and blow it off. Thank you.
David Park and Shelby Sparrow.
Hi, I'm David Park. I live on Suffolk Lane in Penwyn. and the last name is Park with a P, not Bark as it was spelled in the minutes from the last meeting. I just kind of wanted to add to what everybody else is saying. You know, I've harped on communications. I still keep looking on the website for things, but I was not able to find the minutes from the last facilities and operations meeting before coming tonight. Please, please, please try to get these things posted as quickly as possible so that we can stay up to date on what's happening. You know, I just found out today because somebody stuffed something in my mailbox about the stormwater management. It seems really to me that things are adding up, you know, and I don't know how many things have to add up before we really say we need to be looking at other options. I did come to the meeting 2 months ago, I believe, the special meeting, and some of the other options were discussed. But everything that I've heard since then is all about what option shall we use to expand this school. We really need to be looking at other options that don't involve expanding this school, whether it be temporarily or permanently. We've got parking issues, we've got stormwater management issues, there are public space issues within the building itself. We really need to look at other options. And if other options are being explored, once again, I'm not seeing the communications on the website, and I'm not hearing about them from other people, which leads me to believe that while they were looked at, they're not continuing to be looked at. So I'd kind of like to ask, are they being looked at? And can we expect more information on those? Thank you.
So, Mr. Park, just a point of clarification, the notes that Mr. Driscoll read from facilities are on our business board meeting. They're not in writing, but rather they're given orally at our business board meeting. So everything that Mr. Driscoll shared is in relation to the conversation that was had at the committee meeting, which is also open to the public. Yeah, sure.
Just real quickly, I think if you look for agendas rather than minutes, you'll get more information. If you go onto board docs and go to the
agendas, it will show you the basics, and then it generally has an attachment that gives you the additional details. And so I did exactly that.
Yeah, and that's about all we have.
No attachment.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Shelby Sparrow. I live in Penwyn. I have 2 children at the school, and I'm the president of the Civic Association. I've spoken before about the permanent expansion hopefully being done not on the field. So I'm not going to go there tonight. I understand the decisions are being held off until the fall. But the retaining basin, I guess I was under the impression that the construction was starting in June, and I guess my concern would be that you make restoring the green space as much of a priority as you possibly can, as much of a priority as it is for the school families. And I appreciate the work that's being done to possibly move it. I don't know if it needs to be in that space, if it can be in the front of the school, or placed somewhere differently that it wouldn't impact the field at all then. But again, I'm not an expert. I have no idea if that's even a possibility. But if it needs to be done and sort of taking up the green space, if it could just be restored as quickly as possible. I understand it's important. We don't want stormwater running off into the residences around the school. But I guess I just want to feel that it's as much of a priority for the board and the administration as it is for those of us who have children at the school and who live around the school. And if there can be any exploration of its positioning so that it doesn't impact the field at all, because we do have such a small field, and that's the only green space there. So I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Azzy Gira.
Never mind, I can talk without the microphone. All right, I'm loud enough.
Hi, my name is Azigir. I live in Penwyn. I have one child in the school and one coming in. Well, maybe next year, maybe the year after that, we'll see. 3 points mainly. The first one, I've been hearing some defensive tones coming as responses to points that have been given here in the community about the green top, about the traffic, about other things. We have a sense of one-sided communication. And if that wasn't clear, then let me be the brash Israeli who makes it clear. We don't feel that we get answers. For example, there was a question earlier about traffic, why the streets are not one direction, they're both directions, how things are going to be taken care of. There was a comment that, can we get an answer to that? I still haven't heard anything about that. And I walk daily to school, so the situation on the streets is not going to be covered in the 1.5 minutes that I still have. The second is, I don't know if we're going to open the land, and this is such a difficult thing to put in the stormwater, why are we opening the greenfield for that? Open the parking lot. It's not going to be used in the summer as much as the greenfield anyway. So open that, restore that, it's easy. Nothing needs to grow on the parking lot. You pave it and you're done. Put that underneath there, it's not going to hurt anything. And it's closer to the school too. The last thing that I want to say, and this is with regards to the comments of where we can find things, and it also comes back to communications. At this day and age, to have obscure comments or vague descriptions of the meetings is inadequate. And we can have recordings of these meetings and post them. This is should be an easy and relatively simple thing to do. And this improves the communication and the relationship between the board, who makes tremendous effort to serve the community, and the community who wants to be served by the board. And that improves the relationship and improves it all going back and forward. These things should be a no-brainer to be done. The reason you have so many people here coming and saying the same thing again and again and again, it's not because we don't think you want to do the best. It's because we don't know that you do the best. What we hear is that there's this patch solution to this growth problem, there's that patch solution to that growth problem, and I even heard Mr. Copeland say that we have an explosion of growth in the number of students. Well, the solutions do not merit an explosion of growth. The solution are Band-Aids. And I have never seen anyone recovering from an explosion with a Band-Aid. So we're looking for something that is more than what we're seeing here. Thank you.
Ben Meyer.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me speak. It was very heartening to hear about all the 25-year teacher recognition today. My kids have had a few of those teachers, and thank you for recognizing them. And it shows that long-term continuity can be more than the sum of the parts, because those folks have a lot of experience. But similarly, an analogy would be our field at Penwyn, which has been with the school since its inception in 1931. And that's 85 years of service to our kids and community. And you and we are the stewards of this time and place in this community. And as you're all probably aware, but just to say it, that in 2002, the expansion of the school added 12 classrooms and a cafetorium, and that cut the field at that time in half from the original architecture of the community, which had that size school. So I think the request to resod it quickly, the brilliant idea of putting the catchment basin under the parking lot in the summer, that makes a ton of sense. It might even end up being cheaper and certainly would save the field. Could it be done? Technically, I have to leave that in Pat's capable hands. Could it even be put in the front of the school which is basically unused currently for that. It would seem that that gets hidden rather quickly, and as long as it takes the grass to grow in the front of the school, won't really affect anyone. And so again, I just want to, I'm on the Penwyn Civic Association subcommittee for the expansion, and just want to support the idea, of looking for other sites, because according to the chart that you put up, 150 students are entering our system every year, another 150, 150. So Penwyn is 150, but that only buys a year, really, and this is a pretty big project. So it would seem like that as a solution doesn't really match the problem. And of course, if we do have to put one at Penwyn permanent, I just want to support the option 2A, which, while it's a bit more expensive, does save the maximum amount of playing area. That's really all I have, and thank you very much for your time and for helping our kids. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for, please, Mr. Copeland.
We did ask the engineers to look at the front of the school. For whatever reason, they said that was not a viable solution.
Okay, so, sir, we'll have you speak, but the list is closed at this point. Mr. Copeland, you can continue your comments.
We also looked at the parking lot as a possibility, and that was told to me that we could not use the parking lot. I can't remember the specific reasons, but I know our construction manager took a look at that. So we're trying, once we found out the size of it, to look at alternatives.
Can you talk about the double car line with the traffic?
Well, in terms of the street itself.
We're just trying to manage the traffic.
Well, we put the double car lines in to try and manage the amount of traffic that was in front of the schools. From some of the comments that I'm hearing in terms of sidewalks and so forth and so on, that's not really within the realm of the Board of School Directors.
Please, sir.
Thanks. I'm just going to be brief. Everybody spoke so well and passionate, and I agree with everything that they had to say. I'm sorry. My name's Stephen Sachs. I live at 282 Trent Road, across the street from Penwyn Elementary School. Again, I think you have the understanding of how important the issue is. The building expansion, again, I see it as do many others, a temporary fix, not very long before it will outgrow the capacity. And not only the capacity, but the base of the building itself and the flow, and it's just, I don't think, a long-term solution. A question that I do have is all the property spoken for, or is there property available at St. Charles Seminary, and is the board looking into that? That's a yes or no, kind of. Are we looking into it? The space at St. Charles Seminary.
He's talking about St. Charles Seminary.
Oh, they said no. They said no.
The answer was?
Well, I mean, we looked at it quite a while ago, but, a couple years ago, but there's a lot of other possibilities besides the school district, so I don't know where that stands at.
I recall having discussions. And
I would suggest revisiting that.
Sir, you had asked a question.
I'm sorry. You asked the question.
St. Charles was very emphatic that they were not interested in selling their property.
To us?
To the school district.
Okay, thanks. Thank you for addressing Mr. Copeland, because you did not address the safety issues that you were asked to address before. So you've kind of skirted that issue by making it not the board's responsibility. But that still needs to be addressed to the community. It hasn't gone away. The traffic, the people flow, so on and so forth, still needs to be addressed. The community would like to hear how it's going to be handled, what might be done, some of the solutions. The green space, certainly very, very important. I didn't hear why, but they just said the catchment can't go underneath the blacktop, and I'd love to hear why. The community would like to hear why, I think, as well. So there's a lot of loose ends that aren't being addressed or brought forward to the community to resolve some of their concerns. So they're my concerns as well. And one other thing I want to point out, they talk about using the green space. I walked out the door tonight to come to this meeting. It was still daylight. The T-ball kids were finishing up, which is the kickball. They use the kickball diamond, which is also the baseball diamond. So we're looking at alternatives for the kickball. Where are the kids who play T-ball in the evenings going to practice and play? There's a father and daughter who regularly, she plays Frisbee competitively in college, a regular on the field, nightly regular on the field. My neighbor 2 doors down chasing his 3-year-old on the field. Probably 6 to 8 parents with their younger kids playing on the playground area with the equipment. Where are they going to go? There's a lot more thought, I think, needs to go into this in planning. And I realize you've put your expansion plan for the building off to the fall. But again, many other issues I think need to be considered and dealt with as well in order to make the community happy and function in a better fashion. So thank you, folks.
Mr. Ruth. Sunshine Act.
Board met in executive session on May 9th and May 16th, both times to discuss issues pertaining to a labor agreement.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, communications, May 18th, 8:30 a.m. Canceled. Policy Committee, June 3rd, 8:30 a.m. That's an added meeting. And June 6th, Education and Supplementary Regular Board meeting. The beginning of that meeting will be from 6:30 to 8, a work session, much like we had on May 2nd, to discuss enrollment growth and facilities planning, of which many of the questions that were raised tonight, as well as those that have been submitted to the administration by the board, will be discussed. Additionally, we will discuss and have a presentation around the strategic plan implementation. So we're excited for that meeting. And then June 9th, Facilities and Purchasing, 8:30 a.m. June 13th, regular board business meeting, 8 p.m. And with that, 11:35, we are adjourned.